This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. We just made history right now in our first few words of this podcast because I've never recorded one on the ice.
Here we are.
We are sitting on Mille Lacs Lake right now in Mr. Schutta's, what do you call this? Chateau?
Hacienda.
Le de Nada. However you say Spanish. But dude, hell of a season this year.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that, but this, what do you call this, Señada?
Hacienda.
This hacienda here is sitting on Mille Lacs Lake. We've got rattle reels down with custom alarm systems.
Yeah, basically, my old man made these custom alarms back, I don't even know, 400 years ago when I was like 5 years old, I think, or something like that. And we had an older fish house that was still decent at the time. And then about 20 years ago, my dad and I built this fish house. And then just a couple years ago, kind of redid it, repainted things, put some bigger windows in here, recarpeted, new countertops, TV, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, when we live in Minnesota, it's winter half of the year.
Yeah.
And you get cagey and bored if you're me, and you can't go bass fishing at home. So
you can't.
Here's where we are. We're doing as good as we can do in January.
Yeah. Have you always put this up on Mille Lacs? Is that kind of a thing?
Yep. So my dad has had a shack on Mille Lacs basically probably, if I'm guessing, 30 some years. And he kind of got bored. Well, not bored, but just didn't want to deal with it anymore about 3-4 years ago. So then I gave him a couple pieces of paper for this thing and redid it, and here we are. This is where we come on the weekends to ice fish.
Love it, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. So I guess it's January now. This podcast will come out probably in February sometime. But as far as like, could you even get a specimen like this out here like last year? Does it take a special winter for it to happen?
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that. Last year the shack went out. It was out for 8 days. Then they pulled it. Because if you remember, like, we got decent ice, and then all of a sudden it warmed up to like 40 degrees. And, and they were freaking out around here, so they pulled it off the ice. So, yeah, it kind of sucked. The fishing, though, for walleyes was amazing. Like, in that 8 days, I don't even know how many we caught. It was just bizarre how good it was.
Yeah.
And now this year they've had an awesome walleye and perch spawn. So there's like tons of little perch and little walleyes, like, 6 to 10 inch walleyes.
Sure.
And a whole bunch of little perch, and then walleyes are just smashing on them, so they have no reason to try to want to bite your bait. But yeah.
So there's a lot of bait in the lake right now.
Tons.
And that was like, I mean, noticed that last summer too. It seemed like there's a lot more minnows swimming around.
Yeah.
Which they say, like, back in the day, or I've heard this, that those, because they stocked a lot in this lake. And from what I heard, a lot of those fish that they stock versus natural fish that live there don't reproduce at the same rate. So it sounds like there's a nice walleye spawn.
Dude.
Unless those are all just dumb fingerlings that the DNR puts into the lake to get eaten.
I don't think so. They say it's a natural walleye spawn that happened, and it was the best since 2013. So 99% of the guys listening to this podcast don't give a shit, but if you're a walleye guy and you don't mind catching them, in a couple of years from now, it's going to be insane on this lake for walleyes.
The hope there is you can maybe keep them again, so these resorts can kind of get back to their summer roots, if you will, that Mille Lacs was famed for. And, the good news for a bass guy is we catch a lot of them bastards on accident in summer. So now you could toss it in the old live well and not feel guilty about it, maybe. So that's good to see. And I guess the perch thing and the minnows thing, I'll be curious how that continues to change the smallmouth, because it seems like it used to be just crawfish dominated fishery, and I guess it doesn't seem to be quite the case anymore. I don't know how much you fished up here last summer.
So I really don't get up here much. I come, in the springtime. Why wouldn't you come here? Because it's freaking ridiculous out here. So I get out in the springtime once or twice, and then I'm kind of gone. Tournament season gets busy, work is busy in the summer. So fun fishing, I bet I go 2 to 4 times a year.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
That's sad, dude.
It is sad. I know. I tell myself that all the time. It's like,
I went more than that, and I felt the same way. So, I mean, that makes me feel better, but it makes me kind of like, man, there are guys that are built for that, though, I think. And there's guys that we know that rarely get out fun fishing, and it's because they're fishing tournaments, and they load their schedule with that. And you own a business. You've got a wife. You've got a dog.
Cat.
Lots.
My wife has a cat.
I like cats. Most people don't, but I actually like them.
You get a lot of hate for owning a cat, man, I tell you.
You do, and I don't think it's warranted.
No.
Because at the end of the day, it's a low maintenance pet. They shit in a box.
Yeah.
Like, you can't fuck it up.
No, ours has an auto ship box and an auto feeder, and we could leave for a week and leave it there. You know, myself, I love dogs. I love dogs too.
Oh, me too.
But I couldn't have one. We're just not home enough, and I don't have any kids, so it's like I just can't justify getting a dog and having to be there twice a day and take it out.
Yeah,
you
no.
know?
It's like I like kids. Doesn't mean I should have them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a dog's the same way. Like, if you're gonna bring something into the world, you want to be able to give it a good life, and pretty much I can barely take care of myself, man. I can't imagine having, like, poor dog's gonna suffer, poor kid's gonna suffer, like. So
your tournament season might suffer. You had to be home a lot more.
Get yourself a cat and, knock that to-do list out.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't mind having it. I don't know. That was my wife's thing. I'm gone all the time traveling, and so now there's something there.
And you took a year off of Champions Tour.
Yep. 2
years ago.
Yep.
Came back when you could come back. This year, if you would have decided to wait another year, you'd have been put on it sounds like the waiting list is huge right now.
Oh, I believe it.
Like 60 plus people.
I mean,
they were struggling to fill 3 years back.
No kidding. And now it's 60 plus. Oh my gosh.
So 65 anglers plus.
I know last year
list.
when I came back, I mean, I did the invitationals for a year, and it was just too much to do the Champs Tour and then invitationals. And so taking some time off, that was the right thing to do. I would have been way too loaded down, but I can tell you, like, 2 months before you could sign up for the Champs Tour, I was pounding on that. Hey, you're going to see my check show up really soon, really early. They're like, okay, we know. Like, the second you could get it in there, I was in, so.
Well, to be honest, dude, like, I've known you're built for that trail and that series. Like, well, you as an angler, you've proven that you can fish all over the country. I mean, that to me is probably one of the things that I'm most impressed with just watching you is a lot of guys can, do well in Minnesota and then it really doesn't come together down south. And you put your time in, you work for it, and it definitely seems like no matter where you place your chips, you seem to be able to compete no matter where you're at. So I was scared when you're coming back to Champions Tour. And I got to be honest, I really thought you were going to fuck up everybody on Bogey for some reason. I just felt like that one was... I just felt like you were going to do really well there, but didn't matter. You won AOI, and you won the championship. You won the two things that you...
that you want to win.
That you want to win.
I know.
It's no surprise for me, like, that happened, dude.
Yeah.
No surprise for me because I think you've missed AOI.
Every single year that I've fished the Champions Tour, I've been sniffing it. I know the first, I think it was, I don't know, I fished Champions Tour for 3 years before this last year. One of the years my boat had broke down on the river, so I had a horrible finish. Mm-hmm. But the other 2 years I was leading angler of the year going into the final tournament, which they count the championship for the points.
Yep.
So that's where I lost it both times. I had lost it in the championship. So I was like, God, I'm friggin' plagued. And when it comes to either winning this championship or winning Angler of the Year, like, it seems to fall apart for me on that last tournament. But
this year it was Dane.
Just ran into him. Poor Dane. It's like, he is the nicest guy on the Champions Tour. I love that dude to death, man. I felt bad, but
I feel like it's Mr. Deeds right now. Like, if you've seen it. No, you own the Jets, Deeds. He owns the Champs Tour now.
Yeah.
But I remember I was staying in Dane's fish house at Hobo Park.
Yes.
Night before the meeting.
Yep.
Schutta and Shelby stop over to the crib, bring us some beers.
Yep.
And it just felt like, looking back at it, it was like that scene from Happy Gilmore. Just want to let you know I'm coming for you tomorrow.
No, I didn't think of it like that.
No, you didn't. But
No.
it's just, it was funny how that polite gesture that you brought over, like it was a polite gesture.
See you guys tomorrow.
I feel like it was politics at its finest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like you got in Dane's head at all.
No.
But I just thought it was a weird chain of events, especially because I thought I was going to land on the school you landed on.
Really?
I mean, you saw me, Figgy, and Fastbend.
Yeah. You guys were all right there.
Yeah, well, it was still 50 yards from where you were.
Right. Well, it was a long
We
ways
were
away
looking
from
at
there.
each other. 50 to 100 yards. Like,
Yeah, like 100,
I'm
150.
convinced that school...
So, I'll go through the story of how I found that school.
So how you found the winning mega school, just
Yeah.
for context here,
Yep.
on Lake Minnewaska for a championship to win
Yes.
a boat in 2024.
Yep. This is how I found the winning school, basically, for the morning half, for sure. You know? That weed line that we were on, you obviously know what it was, because you and 3 other guys started all right
Goes
on
down
right,
on that weed line.
right there. So I'd never been in Minnewaska before, ever. Like, never seen the lake, didn't know anything about it, never casted on the place before the practice for the Champions Tour Championship. And Ron Mayer was the one who told me, he's like, oh, dude, I mean, you can spot lock and catch like 60. I'm like,
Yes.
what? And so when I went there for pre-practice, I think in 2 days, I probably spent 10 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours. And I was like, there is no place on this lake that I had found that I could spot lock and catch more than 7 or 8. And I was pulling on them because it was like a month before the tournament.
Yep.
And so I'm like, freaking Ron, I don't know. I think he's drinking or something. He's not telling the truth, right? Well, turns out old Ron was right about what he said. So I never, even in the day before where we had the official practice, never had that. I went through that weed line, got some bites and whatever, and my game plan was I'm going to start where I start. I was going out boat 2, so I had boat 2, and I think Dane started on the other side. So I'm basically boat 1 on my side.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I got the pick of the whole lake, right?
Yep.
Well, mind you, we're going to get back into this later.
From where you caught them.
Yeah, so I'll get into that.
Nobody started where you caught them.
Nope.
Nobody even wanted to be there.
So I start on this place where I was like, yeah, I got a couple bites here yesterday, not a big deal, whatever. I really didn't feel all that great about it, although I knew that weed line had a lot of fish on it. So my goal was, I'm going to start here. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes. Even if I catch one, whatever, I'm going to start moving down the weed line because I think these fish can move, or maybe I'll just catch them just going up and down this weed line all day because I kind of thought like I could just go back and forth in this thing and catch them steady like all day, And so that was my goal. So I caught one on my first throw, threw back in there, nothing, probably made like 4 throws. Was like, obviously there's not a ton here. I start moving down the weed line. I think I had went probably close to 100 yards and scanned over with forward facing, was like, ooh, there's a couple fish living in that little patch.
Was it a clean spot or
both?
Like,
it was both. It had a couple clumps of weeds with some clean around it.
Yep.
And so I'm, slithering down the weed line. I see them. I cast in. I catch a few, and the wind's blowing like at my ass. So I'm getting pushed down the weed line at that point because the weed line kind of turned.
Yep.
And so I'm catching a couple, and I'm like trying to keep the boat off the fish, So I'm like smashing a couple of this, and I hit spot lock, and it was pretty calm, but there's just a little breeze. Finally got to, I was like, okay, the boat's passed in the downwind side. I hit spot lock. I had caught like 3 or 4 just like cruising by it, turned around, and yeah, man, I mean, I had waypoints there from pre-practice. I caught fish, but by no means was I like, oh, this is where they're low. Nope. And I was all by myself at that point. There wasn't a boat within, I don't even know, at least 80 yards for sure. Like you guys were the next closest group, but you were still way down the weed line.
Yeah, it was a probably football field.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was about a football field. And so, I don't know, man. It was just the most bizarre thing. It was like Ron said, dude, I just stayed spot locked and cast it at this red dock on shore. And when it went down to the bottom, it mostly got bit as soon as it got to the bottom. If it didn't, it was like halfway back, there was a weed clump. And as soon as I touched that weed clump, I'd get one there. So I just jacked on, I don't even know, like 40 or 50 of them or something like that. It was stupid.
Yeah, and see, I know that about Minnewaska, and I was trying to I guess I was trying to do that all day, knowing that I knew that that's what it would take to win, is landing on that. And it's a matter of, I think you could have done, you obviously because it shut off in the afternoon.
Totally.
And
So
I love everything you did. And I wish I would have, when I was in my position, I almost had to double down harder. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm in whatever place at this point. So it's like,
it wouldn't be a tournament that I'd want to be behind in. I can tell you that. It's like almost like, oh my gosh, like even when I'm smashing all these fish, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the 30th one in like 32 casts. And they're like, yeah, but you know, blah, blah, blah is like 8 pounds behind you. I'm like, how the fuck is that even possible? How is it? I'm reeling these things in as fast as I can reel fish in. Like, what?
I wish the size was better. Like, so the size used to be a lot better, is what I'll tell you. Like, that's Mega School would have been all 2.5 to 3.5s. Like,
oh, shoot.
Like,
no way.
Vocelka in its prime was, like, it almost seems like Lahamadou's kind of turned into the old Vocelka, still with its own Lahamadou tendencies, but the size structure. And Vocelka's almost turned into, like, old Lahamadou a little bit in terms of size. That was the only thing I noticed that I wish, you know, Vocelka, something's up with Vocelka in the size structure.
It's a lot of them 1.6, 1.11, 1.10, 1.10, 1.10, 1.11, 1.10. Yeah, it was that all day.
Yeah. How are you catching them? Because, like, I definitely noticed, it seemed like I was on a smaller group of fish that tournament day, but it seemed like I could catch 2 or 3 and then have to wait.
That's how mine was typically. So now keep in mind, when I'm practicing, I was practicing with a Texas rig, just throwing like the most bare bones shit, Texas rig, whatever. I don't think it really mattered all that much, to be honest with you.
On 100, 1.6s?
No. So I'm throwing a T-rig and going down the, you know, the weed line. And when I caught those 3, when I drifted by, I threw in there and I had lost like 2 or 3 fish in a row. Mm-hmm. And they were just getting it. Like, I would buckle them and then they would come off. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you got, you know, 1.5-pounders and I got a Texas rig on. Like, okay, not typical Kyle Schutta stuff. I'm going to spot lock down, grab a Ned rig and just throw it in there. So I busted them all on a Ned rig, which is, if anybody knows me at all, they know like that's like the farthest from how I roll. You will never see me with a freaking Ned rig in my hand. But yeah, that's
why I was curious, because I've watched you do most of that damage with the spinning pole. So I was just basically wondering if it was a jigworm, Ned rig, Nico rig, or a drop shot.
I think it was like a Z-Man. I don't even know. You have to forgive me, because
they call it a TRD,
something like that. I don't know. It has a little poof on the back, but yeah.
The tickler.
Yeah, whatever they call it.
A little tickler. Yeah, Brazzers edition.
Exactly. Yeah. Dude, I will say though, like a Z-Man plug, and I'm not affiliated with them at all, but like, I think I caught 40-some fish on like 2 of those baits.
Champions Tour special.
I'm like, how do these people make any money? Dude, their stuff lasts forever.
That's just it. Well, it's like I've been looking at some of that Japanese stuff, and like they'll make, what I noticed with some of the, like that elastomer gill bait I showed you, like the uniformity in the package is where Z-Man, it's like they sell this shit cheaper than they should. And how do they sell more bags? Well, to me, it's because like you'll buy a pack and like of like Z-Man minnows, right? The scented ones.
Yeah.
And like 4 of them are fucked up.
Oh, yeah, like, They're like deformed looking.
Like, I don't care. These 2 are good.
I'll just use 1 for a week anyway.
Yep. I just needed 1 good one.
Yeah.
You know?
As long as you get it threaded on right, though, that's my thing. I'm sitting there like, come on, get on there right.
Yeah,
like,
you better not go through too many, because it takes 10 minutes to rig it on the hook.
I know.
But that's a Champs Tour. I mean, Champs Tour, to me, there's hacks like that. Like, it's an efficiency game.
100%.
Whether it's not getting hung as much on a dock, whether it's fishing more docks than the next guy, whether it's
100%.
not having to re-rig as much, you know.
I can't even explain.
When we're talking about that kind of, to walk me through, like, butterflies, like, it's happening. Like, oh my God, it's fucking happening.
Yeah.
The boat, like, you've been close to all these things, and, like, there's no better feeling than, like, feeling the, you know, going through the grind of tournament fishing that we all go through, and then having it all come together. Like, I haven't had it come together like that, but I got to imagine, Yeah, what was that feeling like through the day? Could you even control yourself? Like, you seem like a guy who would maybe turn more rabbit squirrel at that point. I'm calm.
I'm calm as it gets. Yeah, that does not affect me. I have zero. No, maybe I've just been doing it long enough. I mean, I'm 40 years old. I've been fishing tournaments since I was like 12. Like, I just, no, I mean, and then to think about the morning, like, oh yeah, you caught, I don't even remember what it was in the morning. Maybe like around, I think it was like 68 fish after the half or something in the morning half. And they're like, yeah, you're leading, but there's like 5 guys on your heels. It's like,
barely.
This day is barely over, dude.
Right.
Like with that many fish biting, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I got a lot of work to do. This is far from over. Far from over. Yeah, you want to be sitting in the leader spot. That's great. But out there, it's like, dude, anybody can just land on a school at any point and bust 50 of them and make me look ridiculous.
I think the weather helped. Holwig, though, he seemed to keep it going throughout the day longer than
he took over the lead in the second half from me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So if you want, I'll go through kind of like the whole day and how it happened or whatever. So after I land on that morning school, I catch probably about around 50 of them off that morning school.
Yep.
And yeah, it was awesome. But I made the best call I made was, okay, yeah, I'm getting one here, one there, but it's really slowed down for me to say, I know there's like a million fish here, but I'm going to leave this spot. And there's like an hour and a half left in the morning period. Okay, that's a gutsy move,
I remember that now.
Yeah, so it turned out that was the best move because people had already known that I caught them there. There was a couple people.
Oh, I moved over.
Yeah, there was a couple people right around there, but I was like, dude, I smoked these things. I'm out of here. I've filtered this whole area. I'm out. So I go to the docks to sample a dock. I don't catch anything for like 3 docks straight. I'm like, that's bizarre. And I catch finally on the 4th dock like a 2.5 pound smallmouth. I'm like, okay, like they're just not fired up on the docks quite yet. Got that one smallmouth, and then like really bizarre on the last day of practice, probably in the last like 10 minutes, I was going through the reeds at 100 miles an hour with my trolling motor, and like there's no fish in these reeds, nothing anywhere, don't see any fish anywhere. All of a sudden I hit one patch of reeds about as big as this fish house, and I physically seen like 10-12 bass in there. I'm like, whatever the case is, they really like that patch of reeds. Sure enough, I pull in there, pluck. I plucked like 7 of them out of that little patch of reeds.
If you're looking at the shoreline we were fishing, was it to the left or the right?
Left, towards the takeoff.
Yeah, I fished those reeds.
Yeah,
I fished the wrong. There was a boat on the patch I wanted to fish, and all the other ones were junk. But there's fish all over them in practice.
Yeah, some here and there. I mean, so what I found even in pre-practice was you could go through the reeds, fish like 200 yards, not get a single bite, and then it'd be like boom, 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 boom. Yep. They would like to group up in the reeds. So I had that one little patch, which was cool because like I said, I caught 6 or 7 quick, and then that was like the end of the first half. Went in and was like, that was a good decision. And knowing, because I had ran to fish other stuff and went by where I had caught them, and there was boats all over it and stuff, and I'm like, I know those dudes didn't really catch them there. They might have got a couple, but I don't think it like...
Yeah, we're picking up scraps, if anything.
Yeah, a couple here and there, but it was the right call to leave when I did.
Yep. I was a bite every 10 minutes that first half, which was not enough.
Yeah, so do you want to go into the second half of the day, or what do you want to do?
For me, it's I want to understand, like, how you're thinking about, like, when you're practicing and you're placing that, like, I like how you approach the lake in terms of, like, not conditioning yourself too many places and leaving yourself a lot of options. And I guess, like, when you're looking at that lake for practice and prepping for this tournament, you're obviously putting little mental notes in your head of this, and that. What were some of those things that you did put in your head as mental notes, and then obviously weather plays into all of that. So you have these pieces of a puzzle, right? And you haven't put them together yet. That's practice, right? And tournament, you're picking up a puzzle piece, putting it, does it fit or does it not fit? If it fits, okay, perfect. We leave that there. And then you're building on that. That to me is kind of, I don't need to hear everything about, then I skipped this doc. But like, I like to learn how you think, because I think you have a really cool way of looking at the sport, and I like, your brain's different than mine, so I'm very fascinated by it because I wish I had more Schutta in me sometimes.
Yeah, well, this one's really good too. That's a good question that you got, because I got a great answer for you on this one. It actually turned out a lot of really good decisions on my part, but also a little bit of luck played in. So, you know, during practice, my goal was to fish the entire lake, find any fish I can find from 5 inches to 25 feet of water, any freaking thing. I don't care what it is. I mean, we don't know what the weather is going to do or what the pattern is going to be or what. I just want to find every single thing I can. So it turns out that the one side of the lake, the lake lays goofy. It's like a southeast side of the lake or whatever. Whatever I picked on the second half, so the one I didn't start on, that's where I had all my gas, dude. I had like 10 deep spots that I was pumped up, but the biggest thing is that's where I had my best docks. And so I told myself, I'm going to win this tournament and I have to catch fish off the docks, I'm going to need to fish those docks in the second half. Now, for the people at home, they split the lake like freaking ridiculous. Like, I thought it was ridiculous how they split the lake.
Like
okay,
good or
like
bad?
Terrible. Because I'm like, I don't have shit for the morning half, and I elected to take my better half second.
What do you mean? You have the best spot in the lake the morning half.
Didn't know that.
I did. I knew it was in that 300 yards.
So this is the part that plays in. It's a little bit of luck playing in my position, okay? So I'm definitely the guy bitching about, oh, this freaking lake split. How could they do this? Oh, freaking, I'm screwed now. I'm never going to do anything, you know? So I'm that guy like the night before for sure. I'm guilty of that. But it turned out that was the reason that I won the tournament, because I would have started on other deeper spots that I had on the other side, which I thought were a lot better. I had probably like 4 or 5 dots that I was like, dude, I can pull up here and bust a 10 pack. You know, little did I know, you need to pull up and bust a 50 pack. Like, I didn't know it was like that, right? So I definitely had my better stuff there, but all my better docks are on that side. I mean, if anybody's been to Minnewaska, you know that that's where all the docks are anyway. So
for the most part. Yeah,
so I was like, the one game call that I made, the whole entire reason I won the tournament was to elect to take the dock side of the lake second, because I was like, the sun's going to get up, it'll be better fishing the docks in the evening. That was the reason that I picked that. Never knew I was going to land on that mega school. Obviously I didn't, because I started 100 yards away from it and just ended up finding the school. So, you know, making that, you know, decision of I'm going to fish the docks second, and even though that's my better deep stuff too, I'm going to go there second and trying to get
options to go either.
Yes. Yep. So I gave myself the options on the second, which is risky, you know, but if you want to catch fish under the docks, it's not best to start at 7 o'clock in the morning, which I thought on Minnewaska, they heat up a little bit better later in the day out there. And
the weather, I mean, it's perfect for just that.
It's money.
Yeah.
So, that was one, you know, thinking into like game plan and what I'm going to do. That was kind of my thought process on that. And then, so sure enough, I mean, and here's the goofy thing. We take off on the second half. I'm thinking, dude, I'm going to go and I got like 5 dots. I'm going to pull up on, catch a 10 pack at each one of them things. Junk. I caught like 2 bass and so this is at the beginning of the second half when Holloway takes the lead from me, because I'm running these dots that I think are the shit, and I don't catch nothing.
That's how I felt running my dots second half.
Dude, I was like, these got beat up. So, you know, here's
I felt the same way.
Dude, I'm like, these fish had to get beat up. There's no way. So immediately making that decision, I'm gonna go in and sample a dock. First one I cast under, I catch one. Yup, this is what I'm doing.
Easy.
Done. And so that was the game-winning call, right? Because had I just spun out and tried to fish deep the rest of the time, which, you know, the guy who took second, I mean, that's what he did on the second half. He fished deep, and he was on the same side as the lake as us. So, I mean, he made it happen, but I didn't make that happen. So I had to adjust and then go to them docks, and that's how I ended up winning the tournament.
I mean, I went to the docks in the last 45 minutes, and I wish I'd have done it an hour sooner. So I think...
Who's interrupting us? Just kidding.
Is it Shelby?
No.
She can.
If it was, I'd let you answer, but no.
Your heater's fine.
Yeah. No, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I like, my biggest takeaway this year was not trusting my ability shallow sooner. Like, I have abilities. They're not the same abilities you have, but I can catch damn fish on her
you
dock.
can catch fish anywhere, dude.
And hey guys, Aaron Teal here with Vocelka Fishing and Customs here, and excited to talk to you about my new signature series rod, the Puppet Master. My number one confidence technique is by far offshore power finesse fishing. So we've spent a lot of time and a lot of years creating the perfect bottom contact power finesse rod, specifically designed to fish 3/8 to 3/4 ounce football jigs, tubes, swing heads, dragging a swim bait on the bottom, and any bait that you need to manipulate with your hand and land that fish. This rod is perfect for it. The big thing that we found that was an issue with other rods is they were either too crisp and sensitive, where they were too fast, or they weren't quite sensitive enough and they had the right action. So what Dane built with this rod is the most sensitive bottom contact rod I've ever held in my hands. But the big thing is, on a long cast, it's got the power to drive that hook home, but more importantly, it's got a parabolic action that's going to bend deep down in the rod to make sure that, let's say, football jig or goby tube isn't popping that smallmouth's mouth open and keeping that bait in the back of their head where it belongs, allowing you to have increased leverage and landing more bass. You're going to have to pry this rod from my cold dead hands. This is the Puppet Master. You can find it on vocelkafishing.com or at Waypoint Angler Supply. Check them out. Like, on gull, I stuck deep because I like fishing deep, but I like fishing docks too, and it's just I don't feel like I'm as good at it.
Well, deep is your thing though too, dude. You're freaking dialed when it comes deep.
But at the same time, dude, like I got little handicap sneaky tricks for docks that help me, compete there, and I need to trust myself with that, and I need to not worry that Schutta's better at fishing docks than me. I need to not worry that Figgy's better at fishing docks than me. You'll be damn happy with 6th place over 20th teal. So like those types of things, probably my biggest takeaway from the last 2 years. I say it every year that I need to fish shallow more, and like Bogie, I can fish shallow, so I need to do it more, and I just don't. Proud of you. I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thanks, bro.
Like, man, I knew it was going to happen for you. Like, I knew it was going to happen for you. I knew you were going to win one last year. I just knew it.
You thought so?
I did, yeah.
I was
like,
starting to think
when you were coming back, I'm like, shit. Yeah. No, I'm starting to feel that same way. So hopefully mine's coming too. But it's good you're fishing next year, because it sounds like now you have to qualify to fish.
Oh,
so there's going to be qualifiers.
That's how it should be.
I agree, man.
So it's going to beef up the field.
It's going to get better, I think.
I'm all about it.
Yep. I think you're going to see a lot of cool opportunities for tournament fishing in the region, which I think is needed.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, my thought, in the Midwest, like, dude, the Champs Tour is where it's at. All my buddies that I'm tight with, all my buddies, I'm like, why don't you guys fish this? I don't understand what you're doing. I don't know.
It's a no-brainer.
Dude, it's a no-brainer.
I love the team trail schedule, but I'm not, like, I have to fish one less trail this year, and it's like, once you fish it, like, you can't not. The payouts
are crazy.
You cannot justify fishing another trail over Champions Tour financially.
No way.
And I'm not in the financial position to have those kind of choices. So
and then the people are talking about, everyone's like, the biggest thing is, oh, the vacation. I don't have vacation. Dude, it's 3 tournaments plus tournaments on Tuesday, which is the smartest thing ever. I mean, it's the smartest thing ever. I mean, you literally could fish the whole entire thing, taking 2 days off per tournament. I mean, that's 6 days. That's not that much time off. You go fish another trail, you're going to have at least that plus more.
100%.
And now that I love that they came out with I think it's a new rule this year that they have 4 days practice.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like so happy about that.
I'm
so happy about that.
I like that
every
too.
Tournament on the planet should have that.
I don't have time to do more than. I don't like more than 3 or 4. Like 4 is max for me.
Yeah. Well, I'll show up. Trust me. I'm a competitor, so I'll be there at 6 a.m. on the 4th day for sure. But I mean, we don't need, what I don't think is we don't need guys out there for 8 days just blasting on them, and that's not good.
With the payouts in that trail, it makes sense to practice more for it. You know, it's all justified. So like, I like the limiting. Yeah, limit it.
I love it.
Yep.
Great rule. Great rule.
I think I could benefit from that. Like, let me just roll with less, maybe.
Yeah,
that's good.
The guys that are good at bass fishing are gonna benefit from that.
I think so too.
Look, we got our beer guy in the background right there. Dude's dialed.
Have you heard the Minnesota Golden Lager story?
No, tell me.
We are Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes. If we've got anything up here, it's water. And we like our water. But more than that, we like to see our water put to good use. That's why our brewers made Minnesota Gold, to see real Minnesota water brewed into a classic premium quality lager. So please, go ahead and crack open a can. Here in your hands is a clean taste of Minnesota from us to you, Kyle.
Oh, shit, yeah. Although I don't have a beer going
All right,
on.
we got our
I feel like I should.
No, you're good. Well, we got more.
We got to bring a couple of these to Eddie Lieback. I told him, so this is Eddie Lieback runs a resort that this house is at us. And he loves to drink a couple beers from time to time. But let me tell you, that guy, I think, as far as knowledge goes on Mille Lacs Lake, I don't know. I think he's absolutely one of the pioneers of this lake for sure.
He looks like a more sophisticated version of Santa Claus. Like,
yes,
and
that's a great example.
And he has an aura to him. Like,
yes, he does.
Holy shit, this guy let the natives net this lake. Like, this guy runs this shit.
Yes,
like, this guy's a legend.
Oh, yeah.
Was I allowed to say that? I didn't mean any offense.
You can say whatever. This is your podcast.
It's so true. I forget that sometimes.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I will tell you though.
Fuck you, we're keeping it.
Yeah. As far as the Lake Mille Lacs goes, you come here. He's gonna put you on. He's gonna try to put you on the fish. He's gonna make whatever. How far you want to be off the road, don't matter. He'll plow it. He'll freaking do everything you want to do. I mean, the guy is dialed. He's definitely not one of them resort owners that's looking to make a quick buck off your beers and your food. Like, I mean, he wants you to catch fish. So that's why our place is here for sure.
Walk me through like the Eddie Lieback conversation about like catching fish, because I feel like it's different than he's not scoping and freaking.
Nope. I was in there this morning when I came up here.
Does he have scrolls, like the Mille Lacs scrolls?
Pretty
like,
much.
Pulls them out.
Pretty much. I was in there this morning. It was actually a funny convo. The DNR was in there. Actually, the sheriff, I think they had like an underwater drone, and Eddie was telling him about, yeah, I dropped a phone on this waypoint like 2 years ago, and I need the SIM card that's in that phone. He was sending them out there to use their drone to look for his phone. But the guy was on it showing, Eddie was showing him the dot on his graph. It was like the original Lowrance X18 from 2001, and he's probably got a
black
million
and white
waypoints.
Coordinates.
Oh, dialed in though,
Wow.
Yeah, so, yeah, he's dialed. He's dialed for sure. He does a great job running this place.
The prophecy states that in the second millennium, in the year 2024, the perch spawn will be magnificent.
Exactly.
And natural reproduction in the walleyes will come back to full.
Yeah, in the year 2026, you will catch a lot of fish between 15 and 19 inches. Yeah. So.
I want to know how you can make freshwater sculpin reproduce at a more rapid rate.
Do what?
Freshwater sculpin.
Sculpin?
Yeah, do you know they're in here?
No, I didn't.
There's freshwater sculpin in here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What the heck? I never messed with one. Never seen it, I don't think.
I've seen one. Yeah, but they're in here. There are not a lot of them, but I think like low key. Well, this is back in like crawfish days, so maybe like all the sculpin got eaten by all the new perch that are in the lake. I don't know.
See, but you think the bass would eat them things gone in like 2 seconds.
So that tournament, Dane and I want to, I don't know. We have this like, it's a very loose theory. Like, it's worse than flat earth. Like, let's be honest. It's pretty, it's pretty loose, but we have this theory that like they prefer a sculpin if they can get it.
Oh, for sure, because that's like the ribeye of the sky, of the lake.
Yes, that's that Kobe beef or whatever.
Oh, yes. So you were throwing
Wagyu. That's that Wagyu.
Yeah, that's that Wagyu hit.
That Wagyu hitter.
Oh, that hit's different.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Get that sculpin in you.
That's protein for weeks.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I eat them raw, baby.
Why not? I've been blasting on them crayfish shells for
bro.
my
Put
whole
that
life.
in a sushi roll for daddy.
What year did you guys win out here? What was that? Tell me about that tournament.
That was 2018, late July, or no, late June. So it was
Spawn.
No, it was males on beds. So a pile of 4 to 4 3/4 on beds.
Yep.
All around the lake. Very hard to find a 5-pounder.
And you had to do a little bit better.
Yeah, and we found, I think we spent 4 days of practice, Dane and I dividing and conquering the lake, and we found 5 bass over 5 pounds on beds and they were all couldn't see them.
Did you catch them before and weigh them?
Yes, each one of them.
Yeah.
So Dane actually figured the deal out. This is like, in my mind, like people who don't know Dane Vocelka, he is like the type A to my type B, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm the creative weird guy and he's like precise. Like what we had going with the Lowrance .1 GPS puck and 2D sonar with bed fishing offshore, Dane figured it out and taught me how to do it, and I duplicated it basically. But he found 3 big bedfish over 5 pounds with his just GPS and 2D sonar. So he would
literally found them with the 2D?
No, you would find him side imaging. So that was our trick, is we
okay.
would side image deep, look for boulders, isolated the right mixture, the right combination of stuff, and then you'd fish that boulder. Sometimes you'd try to see the bed on it, but essentially the trick was at the time is you put that GPS 30 feet from that boulder and you flip to it and you figure out which side the bed of the boulder the bed is on.
And you're using the range rings in the heading direction?
Yep.
I've been dialed on that since the day it came
And you're
up.
putting 2 dots, 1 dot on the side of the boulder you think it is, and then 1 dot where the boat was. But like the amount of fun that was to do was not fun. Like it is the most painful fishing. I hated doing it, but it's what needed to be done. And you had to have your GPS so fucking like dialed in though, and like it was very precise. So I remember Dane and I have a thing. It's funny, like we always catch each other's bedfish. Like if he finds a bedfish in practice, I one cast it, and if I find a bedfish in practice, he one casts it, and we can't catch our own bedfish. Like
we'll start on the same team. It's all good,
right? Like I'll make 5 casts at my bedfish. I'm like, fuck, I don't know. He's like, got him,
got it,
and same thing on his bedfish. Like, got him.
Dude,
that was our thing.
That .1 thing that you're talking about, though, I like low-key was so about that for years. I swear, there was a load of bass guys that had no idea how valuable that's. I think it came out, I want to say like
the
2013 or 14, and I'd been running it since then. It was like, how do you fucking people even fish offshore without this shit?
That's what I said.
It's so stupid. I'm like, I would call it splitting the dot. So I would have a waypoint, and just like you said, I'd have a dot for my boat and a dot where the fish were, and I would take that heading direction, we called it the dick, line the dick up with that waypoint, split the waypoint, and cast it right out the front. Got one. Like, who's not doing this? And it was for like, we had that for like 10 years. It was for like 10 friggin' years. Nobody was onto that shit, I swear.
Dane and I, so 2018 is, I would say, where we really figured out the .1 thing and waypoint management. And 2019 was the best year we've ever had. I think worst I finished was 7th. And we had 3 firsts and a second.
Oh my gosh.
There's 5 tournaments on the trail. We had 3 firsts, a second, and a 7th.
Oh my gosh.
And we
banner year.
The .1 offshore thing, us, Dane and I clicking, was on point. And the live scope thing comes, and I feel like I've just been clawing my way back to that, you know? And I feel like I cannot get back to that point where I feel like I have any advantage over anybody.
Because you don't now. I mean, you just don't. I mean, that's the deal.
Well, and I fought it. You know, you get confidence in a system, right? Mm-hmm. And that confidence that in that system we built, 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019, hindered us from adapting to new systems in, the last, 4 or 5 years. So I was probably later to shaking a minnow than, your Easton Fothergills and your other folks, later to this, but now I'm not. But it's weird, man.
It's weird. Yeah.
Like, if you could put Pandora's box back in, I don't know what happens. Like, it's hard because part of me wants to say, yeah, keep the live scope, but there is a part of me that wants to be Randy
Just
Blockett.
rogue
Like,
bank guy.
we should ban this.
Well, I think there's
stuff.
a bunch of tournaments coming out without it. I think it's like, I've heard that in certain states, not here.
I did
There's
a lot better
tournaments
without
coming
it.
out, and people are like all about it. Like, the tournaments are filling.
Really?
0 live scope tournaments. Like,
What do you feel? How do you feel about that? And I guess we just talked about Champions Tour, and we just,
Yep.
you know, I feel like Minnesota is a weird state to be in with this, because it's like, you want a live scope, but then you're fishing grass.
yeah. So great question. We'll dive into the live scope thing, our forward facing sonar topic. Like, how do I feel about it? I don't like it. I think it's stupid. I don't really like it that much.
It doesn't seem like you're. Everything I know about Kyle Schutta tells me that it's not your jam, but it tells me it could be.
It's not my jam, but let me say this. I don't give a shit what they come out with. I don't care. Whatever the next technology is, I'm going to get it immediately as fast as I can, and I'm going to learn the shit out of it. That's what I'm going to do. If this is what I got to do to catch bass, then that's what I'm going to do. And I do that. And I'm all about it. So I do want to go on record to say I'm not a hater on it. Like, I'm not going to, well, it's fucking ruining the world. And, you know.
You just heard it.
Yeah.
He hates it.
I hate it. I do hate it. I think it's dumb. I think it, if I'm being nostalgic, it takes kind of a little bit of fun away from what I love about bass fishing a little bit. It kind of takes it away, although I know why we're using it, because it's freaking lethal, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's insane. I mean, there's times when it's like, we would have never caught that if we didn't have this.
100%.
Okay. I mean, so of course we're using it, right? Because we have to use it. It's legal to use in a tournament. So yeah, you better fucking know how to do that. Mm-hmm. You better get really good at it. Now, do I like doing it? No, it's not as fun. I'd rather be throwing a frog and some lily pads. Yeah, for sure. I'd rather be burning a chatterbait through a weed bed. Yeah, that would be fun. But, you know, hey, if it's what we're doing, then I'm going to do it. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just going with what we got to do. And I would say that, let me say this. So in the national world, when, you know, fishing like the invitationals and all that stuff, I mean, all them tournaments turned into like, dude, if you're not scoping, you're not going to win, okay?
If there's shad in that lake.
Even if there's not, though.
Fair.
I was in freaking Okeechobee. I mean, they're winning tournaments on Okeechobee scoping, okay? They're scoping them on
There's
beds.
shad in Chobe, but...
but you know what I'm saying?
But what's crazy is how shallow, and I mean, just talking to Father Gill about what he's scoping on Chobe in 3 feet of water, it's like, I hear you, dude. Mm-hmm. What's crazy to me is you're a sight... Like, I consider you a damn... lethal sight fisherman.
Oh, for sure. I love it. That's my favorite thing to do ever.
And what's interesting to me is how a lot of good sight fishermen ain't about life scope. And I'm like, what do you mean? You just got eyes offshore. Like, I would think that live scope would be
because it's not as fun.
Fair enough. It's
not
video
looking at
game.
them.
Fair enough. So you don't even red dot sight. You're straight iron sights.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when you're looking at one and he's turning up and you're like, oh, get ready, he's going to bite pretty soon, dude. There's just a special little place down in the bottom of my heart for that. That's what I love, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm, so that's where I go back to, like, is it fun? To me, it's not. I'm sure Easton Fothergill would tell you it's fun, but that dude, I mean, also, let's give that dude a shout out on this.
Can we?
That dude is freaking on fire.
He's the chosen one.
Oh my God, dude. I'm happy for him, especially in Minnesota, dude. I've never met the guy, but tell you what, pretty freaking banger year, dude. That was sweet.
I got to be honest with you. You probably aren't expecting this right now, but I think Easton Fothergill's fishing style is closer to Kyle Schutta's fishing style than Kyle Schutta would ever think.
Except he's just like 100 times better than me. But yes,
no, but like I'm talking about
definitely
the
versatile and the speed and looking at stuff, and like I noticed that about him when just from following stuff on the internet and whatnot. Dude's like on one. I mean, he's on one, right?
Dude,
I mean, you kind of got to be though.
We're talking about, I think, future history here right now, and I guess to me, the best way to describe him is Kevin Van Dam fucked Aaron Martens and had a kid.
Yeah.
Because he's doing Aaron Martens things at KVD pace.
Yes. That's
It's
a
like
perfect way to say it.
Yep. He's fishing a Nico rig, drop shot, spinning pole stuff at KVD pace because of live scope. So he's moving at Schutta pace, except
efficiency of Aaron Martens.
But what I'm saying, he's like you, but if you said I'm doing a Ned rig Nico, so I'd just be curious, like, the sport's changing. What does Kyle Schutta do, keeping the same style he has, but just throwing a spinning pole?
Yeah,
I'm just wondering what the fuck happens, because to me, there's a lot of similarities between your style and his. Like, when I see him on the trolling motor, it's on 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's got a spinning pole. He sees one, hits it on the noggin.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
because
didn't bite.
His efficiency's through the roof. So
didn't bite. No, he's not opening the bail. No, he's reeling it up and bait castering that spinning pole to the next bass. Like the numbers game, dude.
So I was in the deer stand this fall, and sometimes I put an AirPod in if hunting slow or whatever, action sucks, I'll pop an AirPod in and I listen to the Easton Fothergill one. That was when I was like, hell yeah, this is the one I want to freaking hear, man.
Yeah.
He's like potentially like the best dude out right now, and you got him on your podcast. So I was like, I got to hear this.
He's a friend of mine. Yeah. There's been a couple baits I gave him that he's done good on, so I think that's why he still talks to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. He seems like a pretty humble dude. I never met him, like
humble
I said,
and as good as it gets.
So one thing that he had said that, it just hit me like, oh my God, I've thought that way forever. For my whole life, I've always thought he said something. I mean, literally took the words out of my mouth was, I'm not trying to make, I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but more than less, he was like, I'm not trying to make every fish in the lake bite. I'm looking for the ones that want to bite now. And that's me. That's what I'm looking at.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Dude, if one's there and he's stubborn, I don't give a shit. I'm out. Bye.
Like, the more I talk to him, the more scary you get because of those types of things. And I think that is the thing I struggle with that. Like, I need to know that that's not my style. I want that to be my style, and maybe it will someday, but my style's not that. But that is a lethal style if you're good at it.
But also, let me say, a lot of guys that have your style where they're like, I know the big ones live on this dot and I just got to make 5 of them bite. In a 5-bag tournament, a lot of times you can totally win doing that. Okay? Like,
I know.
So let me also go into this. I'm a guy that, like, great year, won the boat, angler of the year, freaking right. I'm pumped about that. But I actually don't win that many tournaments. I don't have a lot of wins on my belt. I'm not a winner. Yeah, but there's guys like, I mean, you could mention, Noah and dudes like that. Dude, they're winners. They win tournaments. I mean, they'll go out on a tournament and take 32nd place, and then the next tournament they win. Okay, I'm not one of them guys. I'm always the guy, though, that's like cashing a check in like every single tournament. I'm always right there. But dude, I don't win that many tournaments. I really don't win that many tournaments at all. I really don't. So just that fishing style is, sometimes, like you said, dude, there could be 10 fish on this one rock, and if you can catch 5 of them, you're probably gonna win. I have a freaking hard time doing that.
Well, that to me is I think the weird thing about what I've told you. I mentioned live scope, right, being kind of, ever since it's dominated, I seem like I'm clawing back, but ever since I started fishing both Champs Tour and 5-fish, it seems like I went from being a good 5-fish angler to, I feel like, kind of medium.
Do you think the styles are kind of intermixing and throwing you off a little bit?
I feel like there's a lot of things throwing me off, and I feel like we're our own worst critics, and I feel like there's plenty of insanity here, but I think I don't know, but it's one of those things it's like I don't feel like I'm changing anything. I feel like if I'm going out to catch as many bass as I can, I'm going out to catch as many bass as I can. If I'm going out to catch 5 biggest bass I can, I feel like that's what I'm going out to do. So I just feel like everybody's getting better, and I feel like it's all between my ears, and I just need to relax a little bit, probably.
That's for surely a thing. I mean, I can tell you, like,
I'm stubborn, too. That's the problem, is
all bass guys are stubborn.
I know.
All bass guys are stubborn, but you know,
not all bass guys are Polish, though. I feel kind of Polish, and I'm not even Polish. Anyway,
what were we?
No, we were talking about just the insanity of well, we were talking about a lot of things. We were talking about your fishing style.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about Champs Tour versus Five Fish. What's fucking with us? Live scope, Champs Tour, like a lot of things. But I think it makes sense if you're listening. Hopefully,
that's what I wanted to add. One thing on when you talk about five bag versus Champs Tour style, dude. Anybody that's out there saying that you don't fish differently in those two, no. Because I've heard people say that all the time. Well, I fish the same. I fish the same. Different. I mean, I fish completely different.
You can't tell me in a five fish. I have no problem waiting 30 minutes on our starting hole to make sure, right? Champs Tour. If I go 30 minutes without a bite on my starting hole, boy,
dude, I can tell you.
I don't know.
I can tell you in 5-bag tournaments, I've had plenty of tournaments. Especially, I come up around the Chisago area, because you know how those lakes are.
Land of the pressure,
dude. I'm talking about you're sitting there like, that guy's on there. Shit. Oh, wow. That next boat just pulled in. You're like sitting there with your life jacket on, waiting to start your boat to try to get your swing at 1 dot, right? And I have won tournaments like, oh my God, they're leaving. Put your fucking life jacket on. You're freaking running over there. Their boat's getting on plane. You get in there, work your shit up. Fuck, I got one. Yeah, we got him fired. Win the tournament. Like, at least like 15 times.
Dude, how do you do that?
It's
like
stupid.
Why? How does that work? Like, to me,
because literally the biggest bass are living on that dot, and everybody knows it. So when you get back to talking about like making them fish bite, that's the only way you're gonna win.
I get that, but it's been fished all day. You had 2 boats sparring over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one guy tries to mushroom stamp the other guy with this 3/4 ounce jig and misses, and you know, who knows. The spot's been beaten bloody dead, Kyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why didn't they catch the winning bag off it? And
didn't throw the right thing or didn't do whatever. I mean, you know, their angle was wrong. Their bait was wrong. I mean, the timing was wrong. Maybe we get lucky.
And that's what
a million different things, man. And that's something that we're all trying to figure out as bass guys. But I mean,
we never have it fully figured out. Nobody will. If you do, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
100%.
But you know, that time on Chisago or whatever, where the spots, you're waiting in line. You got your ticket.
Mm-hmm.
B27. All right.
Now,
what do you do? How do you fish behind that many people? What's some little tricks? You don't need to give the kitchen.
No, here's definitely a trick. We're stepping back in time here. But talking about that 0.1 thing, oh, dude, for like a 10-year span, I mean, I could just sit there and oh, yeah, that dude's like technically on the spot, but he's not fishing the spot. I mean, he's like pretty close to the spot, but he's not on the spot. That guy would
Protractor.
Oh my, yep. 6 more degrees to the... I mean, millions of times. I mean, tons of times. You know, now, I mean, that 0.1, yeah, it's great, whatever. But I mean, you don't use that. You know, we got scope and you got 360. I mean, your bait's dropping on top of the rock every single time, you know.
But think about angle. Like, you used to think about angle, right? I feel like scope kind of like takes that thought out of your head a little bit. Because, like, I see him. How often do you think about throwing, like, putting your boat over here, throwing this way at him when you're looking at him there? I feel like you either leave or get stuck throwing something else, right?
Yeah, for sure.
0.1, I feel like we used to change. What else do we do? Like, what else do you do?
Yeah.
When you either throw a different lure or you fucking change your boat angle.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we could do. Now
you're throwing in your
I feel
scope.
Like people aren't even thinking about that, dude.
No.
How do you know what I mean? So, like, there might be some nuggets in there just to be had. Like, there's probably... Think about how many fish on live scope that don't eat your shit.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
It showed me how shitty I am. But I never thought about, like, and then throwing, like, the opposite direction at them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We might have just given out
Typically,
something
we're going downwind and throwing up into the wind, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to spot lock and do that. So, yeah, I mean...
But, like, Dane and I, we did very well fishing spots unconventional directions, you know.
Because you had your boat waypoint.
Because we didn't know what the fuck was down there. We didn't know if anything was down there, but we know that it was sunny and they were in the grass more, and now it's cloudy, so we should throw at the rocks. Like, and you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
And put the boat here, ta-ta-ta, put the boat here, ta-ta-ta.
Yeah, they didn't bite, I guess. They're not here. They're not here. Yeah, they're there.
Though. Like, but we don't do that no more.
Mm-hmm.
As anglers, we develop special bonds with our equipment. There's something magical when you find that perfect jig rod and reel combo for a technique that elevates your confidence on the water. Whether it's a perfectly balanced, crisp, and sensitive jig rod that gives you the highest level of control over your bait, allows you to feel every grain of sand, every bite, and allows you to drive that hook clean, or a rod with the perfect action and taper that seems to keep your chatterbait, swim bait, or whatever it is in the back of the bass's head where it belongs no matter where you throw it, or a rod that allows you to effortlessly cast a lighter bait you used to cuss at on your old combo. These types of magical bonds are rare to find in a mass-produced sweatshop, which is why Vocelka Fishing and Customs came to existence, with the sole purpose of bringing you closer to your passion by enhancing the bond with you, your rod, and the bass. Confidence is everything in bass fishing, and there's no bigger boner buster than losing a big fish, not feeling like you can present your bait correctly. The list goes on and on. Mr. Vocelka is a full-blown artesian craftsman who can build you the perfect rod, no matter the size or action, custom, exactly the way you want it. He also has a wide variety to choose from right on his website, including fan favorites like the 8-foot hair jig rod, the drop shot rod, swim bait rod, the chatter chicken rod, the MH workhorse, and more. Even ice fishing. You do the whole frozen Swiss cheese thing, the ice fishing. Seen grumpy old men? Well, you can send that jiggle stick back to the antique store because Mr. Vocelka builds custom ice rods in all sizes and actions too. So head on over to his website, vocelkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com to enhance your confidence on the water, feel your passion, and catch more bass, baby. So is it the scope, or like could we? Fuck, I don't know, man.
Dude, the scope is showing us what the scope is showing us things that we were guessing at before.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can't even tell you like how many times in the since scope, it's like, oh yeah, I'm throwing this bait, dude. They're freaking following it. I can see them, like they're just not biting it, and then you like change one little thing, and you're like, freaking got one, unbelievable. I just need. It's ridiculous.
Totally. But like getting back to that, you fishing the spot after those guys, right?
Yeah.
So look, how would you approach that, and how, like, when you're approaching that, you're like, well, I bet they didn't throw a Magnum flutter spoon.
Yeah.
From this angle and like wah, wah, drop it. Like they didn't piss them off enough.
Yep. 100%, dude. A, they didn't cast at them right. B, their boat was on top of them. C, they didn't rifle through enough lures. Pretty simple.
That's it. Got it.
Yep. No, nothing, no rocket science going on there.
Well, to me, I think one of the magics of bass fishing is that reaction strike. And
oh my
those
gosh.
guys that figured that out, like when that new, like when the 6XD came out, Kevin Van Dam, prime example, and then having a sneaky hair jig to follow it up. And just things like that, to me, that's something that's can be hard to do in Minnesota with the grass. So it's like, 3/4 ounce this, 1 ounce this, but there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat and make a fish react. And I guess, what's the most unconventional thing that you've utilized to do that I guess people up here wouldn't even think to pick it up, and maybe it only works on those types of lakes,
I mean, I'm a pretty conventional guy.
I know.
I'm a pretty bread and butter dude, but I can say, I started messing around with that hair jig way before I'm sure a few people were throwing it in here, but like really undercover.
Chicken.
Yeah. I would say probably like 2000. Well, the only way I'd be able to date it is whenever Jacob Wheeler won Chickamauga. I think it's like 2013 or 14 or something like that. That's when I started messing with it here, and I was like, oh my God, dude.
Got it.
Oh, I didn't even throw it when anybody was within 100 yards of me.
You wouldn't even take it out of the box?
Absolutely not. I can remember fishing a Tuesday night, or so it was just a league night, and we were on Green Lake, and I was like, I just can't. I never threw it the whole night. It took like fifth. I was like, I know I could have blown this tournament out.
Everybody's too close?
Way too close. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not doing that.
That's gangster shit.
And I was able to hide it for like probably, I don't know, like 3 years or something.
I know Noah. So there's been a few guys who've claimed. It's funny. Mm-hmm. Noah, Brad Leitner, and you, and maybe one other guy.
For surely, Brad Leitner and Dusty Mann were throwing it. I know they were throwing it on Tonka for, like, in the really early days.
Cool. That's gangster.
Yeah, those dudes are doing it. Because Dusty Mann, original gangster, at tying up those freaking hair jigs.
Was he?
Oh, for sure.
See, I'm proud of what I tie, and I just think it's... Dusty Mann is an untold gem of a story.
Dude, that dude's awesome.
Most of the bass fishing world doesn't know what the fuck that guy did on Lake Minnetonka, but it was nothing short of... I mean... Tonka is a fucking
bitch.
Yeah. Take your worst ex-girlfriend, times her by 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's Minnetonka.
Yep.
Your worst ex-girlfriend.
Yep. Absolutely.
And he won. If it was spring, Schutta is one of the scariest dudes on Tonka.
Him too, though.
That. Well, he's scary all the time, right?
Yeah.
Just need to give you a little credit on Tonka where it's due, bud, because you're fucking dangerous in the spring out there. But the amount that dude won on Tonka, just for a stretch there, it would be like Corey Hauk on the river for that stretch there.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, he was unconscious out there for sure. And he just was thinking about it differently, too.
100%. He was...
Like, when you talk to him, you're like, what?
He would camp. I think he fished a lot different than you from, like, the guys I talked to. He would sit on community hole for 4 hours.
Oh, yeah, he'd wean his worm. He was all about that.
Dude, that's like... I thought my penis was small. That takes like an exceptionally small penis with a large set of balls below it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to camp that long?
Yeah.
Especially on Tonka when there's 900 waypoints you want to throw at?
Oh yeah.
Dude,
there's so many good holes. They're probably biting on a couple of them.
Yeah, for sure. But it goes back to him.
I can't sit out there, man.
It goes back to him going, dude, this is where the big ones are sitting, man. If I can get one to eat here, it's going to be a Tron.
Well, and I've seen it first. Like, have you ever practiced Tonka at night, like in the evenings?
Mm-mm.
Death sentence. Don't ever do it.
Why? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Some fish don't bite during the day. Like, Crystal Bay,
time.
I'll like find, like, I'll practice and I'll do like a 12, 14-hour day. I'll be like, yeah, I get one good bite from in tournament hours. I had one over 3.5 today.
Yeah.
But like 6:30, 7 o'clock, it went nuts, right?
And they don't snap in the day.
Never has it panned out for me. And
no way.
I'm not kidding, dude. Do not find bass in the evening on Tonka if you're planning to fish for them.
I'm planning to not go to Tonka as much as I possibly can for the eternity of my life.
What do you mean?
I'm
It's so
drinking
fun.
on Big Island, then I will go for sure.
Yes. I'll be honest. I'd like to see some more humble women on Big Island, but they're nice to look at.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's not supposed to swim around there. I heard it could be a little fecal.
Yeah. It's nasty.
I've heard it's nasty. I've never swam on Big Island in my life.
Dude, I have.
I bet you. Like, I mean, I grew up out in the boons, dude.
The guy sitting over there has probably been to Big Island a couple times.
Cheers, brother.
Oh, yeah. Actually, in my first days on Minnetonka, probably the first 5 years I went to Tonka were just on Big Island, never cast it out there.
Where's Shelby from? How the hell did you meet her?
Shelby's from Hinckley. She grew up in small town Hinckley, then moved down to Minneapolis. That's where we met. We met on Big Island at the North Arm boat ramp. That's where I met her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was she's
acting
right here
a
on
prude?
This
calendar right here on her.
There's no way a Hinckley girl was acting a prude on Big Island.
She kind of flexed on me a little bit. I was at the boat ramp and I had to park the truck and I'm sitting there and this car pulls up. She's like, "Hey, you go out with these guys?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "I don't know, some freaking drink or whatever I had in my hand." "Let me see that." She's like, things like, she's like, "Oh, spot opened up. Here's your drink." pulls into it, and then gets on the boat. I'm like, okay, I see how you roll here.
Yeah. How old were you guys? Like pretty
25.
Okay.
Yeah. Holy cow, has it been that long? Yeah,
both
25.
in your prime?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Same age?
Yep. Same age, just a month apart.
So you're like, man.
It was, you
drink like a fish, and I like fishing.
Well, it kind of was cat and mouse a little bit. It was almost like bass fishing, It was prime time.
Got it.
And it was the summer, so, I'm like, we need to keep our distance, And then it got to relationship season in the fall.
That is women's season.
And then we cuffed up a little bit.
I got you. I got you.
That's how it worked.
But she had a liking to the shoots early on.
Probably. Yeah, for sure.
So
we kind of both are in the same vibe. We're like, I don't really want to get locked up right now. And then it got to winter.
That's the best time.
Yep.
I mean, what's she doing? What's she do for work?
We work together.
Babysits you.
Yeah, pretty much. She's like my right-hand man, basically.
Well, and how has that flourished? Like, how's the business been? Good?
Business has been awesome. So for the people that don't know, let me tell you something about myself. I could put a furnace and air conditioner in blindfolded with one arm tied behind my back, but I cannot send an email if my life depended on it. So emails, permits, all that stuff, all our website, building all that, and marketing, that's what my wife does. She does that for her business. She's freaking good at it. She's dialed, and she also works in the field too. Like just today when we were heading up here, we had a no heat, and I was like, you got to go over to this house and fix this up. So she did.
She installs them with your eyes open.
Yeah, pretty much. She needs 2 arms. I need one. But yeah, she's kind of the, anything with a computer, I freaking suck at that. So that's what she does, and it's a good system.
Perfect, dude.
Yeah.
How you liking that place is sweet. You liking it?
Yep. We just moved down to Forest Lake, so we live on the lake. We just moved in there a year and a half ago. Yeah. So I'm kind of one of them old pontoon guys now. I cruise around in my pontoon with a fluid and turn up some music a little bit loud and cruise by the bass guys. You guys catch anything here? Stay the fuck out of here, asshole.
You got side scan on that too?
Oh, for sure, dude. All I do is dot up all day. This beep, beep, beep.
Bro, yeah. I've always wanted a scanning tuner, a tompoon.
Oh, yeah. I got a 12-inch touch with a side scan on there.
Big old tompoon.
Yeah.
They ride pretty good.
Oh, for sure. Shit. Yeah.
Doesn't suck. Got tunes.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And my buddy comes over one day. He's like, yeah, I got these 2 12-inch kicker subs with an amp that I had in my car back in, 400 years ago. I'm like, well, fuck, we'll put those in there. So we put them in there. And, yeah,
I think that should become the brush pile sinker now. It can't be called Forest Lake without brush piles. Like,
pile
you got to make a forest in there. Like, I
rig.
think you got to put piles in that and start doing that. Let's get some spear holes going. Let's start putting some piles in Forest. Let's bring Forest Lake back.
Dude, Forest Lake is back.
They need more places to hide from the muskies.
I know,
they need brush piles in there. DNR, we need to just install a bunch of brush piles in Forest Lake. Kyle Schutta will happily do it. He's looking for a government contract.
Yeah, and he'll not tell you where they are, but he'll know where they are.
Well, he'll put the waypoints around.
Yeah. A couple hundred yards away.
What's crazy is like southern Minnesota. I went to Tonka and fished that. I can't believe how many of them southern Minnesota boys think they're in Alabama because there's brush piles everywhere in southern Minnesota.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably like
I don't know who's
one
doing
guy
it,
that goes around and does it.
Dude, I found like 50 of them in a day on Tatonka.
50?
Mm-hmm.
Caught them. Fish on them?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
Yeah, like it was like...
That's like big time if you get caught doing that, I feel like. I would never risk that.
Well, Timmy Schroeder's the cop down there, so I really think that...
he's doing it. No, just kidding.
No, I think he's just not prosecuting.
Yeah.
It's not pressing charges.
I didn't see anything over there.
Well, there's a big flood that probably helps, too.
Oh, for sure. All the brush I feel like that I've found in Minnesota probably happens a lot because of the ice. I mean, you have a tree that's laid down into the water, and it freezes in, and then the ice goes out and it pulls that tree. The tree is already waterlogged, and then it falls down. I feel like a lot of brush gets brought out like that.
I feel like you're probably right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, it's just weird, like, how much natural, actually, structure we have compared to the South. It makes sense why fishing is the way it is down there with the roamers and, there's just not a... You fish down there. I mean... you have a riprap bank or a brush pile.
Yeah, I know.
Or a dock.
Exactly.
What else do you have?
I don't know.
Shad swimming around. There's not grass anywhere until you get. What's weird is there's not grass like in the middle belt of like in the heartland, where there's supposed to be grass. I feel like that's supposed to be like.
And there really isn't.
No.
Like you look at Oklahoma. Was there even a piece of grass in Oklahoma?
Maybe Eufaula and maybe, but how? Why can't they plant it?
I don't know. I fished Eufaula. It doesn't have any grass. I had a good finish there in the Invitational.
All I can think of is the fluctuation, right? If you drop in a lake, like our lakes don't fluctuate 15 feet.
Mm-hmm.
We're mind blown when the coontail grows up 20 feet.
Exactly.
Now you have 15 feet of fluctuation.
That coontail that's 15 feet tall.
Where'd
and
that
5
coontail
feet.
go?
Yeah,
it's over the dam, bud.
Yeah.
So
it's just lush up here, though. You come to Minnesota in the summertime, everything's lush, like even above the water, right? Like just the woods are just lush and the trees are, I don't know. It's different. It's a different country up here.
Well, that's the hard question, right? It's I'll be honest, aside from drinking some beer and getting together with good people, there ain't a lot of reason to be up in Minnesota unless you just love drilling holes in the ice and beating your head. And if you're absolutely an insane human being, I suppose. But
yeah,
bass fishing is so good up here that
it is.
I feel like the play would be to own an Airbnb in like Texas, Chattanooga, Florida, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Liferman, the Liferman play.
Liferman.
Yeah, the Liferman play.
The story of Liferman was, I know he called when he retired. He's like, I'm looking at a bunch of places. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go. I'm like, you need to come to the Harris Chain, dude. Come down here and come on to this lake for one day. And he's like, oh, I'm going to come down there. And he came down and rented a house. So Shelby's parents, my wife's parents, live on the Harris Chain.
Oh my God!
So they have a house on the Harris Chain.
Too. Or are you not married?
We're married.
Oh,
we're
you
married.
just don't wear your ring?
No, just because I almost broke my finger off one day when I first had that thing on there. And
those HVAC units are dangerous.
Dude, I'm talking about my finger swelled up like a balloon. I had to rip it off, and I got PTSD still.
Dude, I gotta be honest. My fingers aren't built for rings. Like, my knuckles are bigger than so there's like a hump you have to get the ring over, and then it's like loose.
And then it's nothing.
And then it's loose.
That's what I told Shelby. I go, dude, I'll get it tattooed on. I'll do that for sure.
Talking.
And she's like, oh, you don't got to do that. I don't know. I'm like, all right, whatever. But
look how mine are webbed. Like, I can't be married with that.
No, you're definitely getting tatted. You're gonna have to talk to Dane. He'll tie
like
you up
a ring doesn't even. I don't do rings, man.
I don't do jewelry. I don't do watches. I don't do nothing.
No, dude. That's
I do construction. It feels weird.
You do what man's supposed to do. Jeez.
Bait casters only.
Bait casters only. Honestly, I think this whole strolling a minnow thing. I shouldn't be saying this out loud, but that big minnow thing, dude. Big minnow.
Well, let's change the topic.
Yes, sir. But no, like, I feel like
it's something that I don't have much experience of at all. Like, almost nothing. But there's something. There's something there for sure.
Well, like, there's A-rigs being made right now. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's one that came out that is designed to be strolled.
No way.
Bro.
Like a little mini A-rig?
Mini, big. But yeah, anyway, I think, like, what's crazy to me is the world we grew up in bass fishing is there's secret spots. There's, like, the location was 70, 80% of what we did. Now, it's
10%.
It's 10%. Like, the location aspect of bass fishing, everybody fucking knows where. Everybody can see the map. The maps are good. You can side image, and then you have this scope thing that you can literally see
if there's fish there
swimming down there. Like, so now it's all about making them bite. Yeah. And I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. Like, innovation, like, it's weird. Japan's almost like 5 years ahead just because their resource. I mean, you think about
How do they get like that? Why are they're so innovative when it comes to stuff? Where does that come from? Dive into that and tell me why it's like that.
So the Japanese are like absolute craftsmen, okay? So food is a delicacy. They're very quality driven. They're very refined. Like everything is refined and everything has a purpose. So when the Japanese come out with a lure, it isn't to sell a lure. It's a tool with a purpose, if that makes sense. And it's years in refinement to getting to that point. And there's a reason, like steel companies, right? They make the best knives. They make samurai swords. I mean, they're known for quality, craftsmanship, delicacy, refinement, right? And with fishing, it makes perfect sense because you've got a small country with a high population density, low amount of natural resources. So you've got a high population density. Lake Biwa in Japan, the biggest lake in Japan.
Community
you
whole
think
zone.
Tonka is a bitch? You think Gunnersville's a bitch? Name the highest pressured fishing lake in the United States. Times it by 10. That is Lake Biwa. They stopped using live scope a couple years ago.
They stopped.
Leitner and I were talking about this. Isn't that crazy?
That's
Japan
wild
is
to
a
me.
crystal ball into the future. That's what's beautiful about Japan. They stopped using live scope years ago. They are shaking minnows without live scope. Shaking a minnow was cool 6 years ago in Japan. They're like laughing at us, like with what we're doing right now.
They'd really be laughing at me. I like to put my forward facing on, my 360 and my 2D, let them all ping together. I point the sonar right at them when they're on a bed in like a foot and a half, and then they get pissed off and eat.
If they could read our fucking road signs, if they could read our maps, if they could navigate this world effectively, I would be scared because they know how to fucking
They're
catch
dialed.
bass.
Dude, they're
They know how
dialed.
to catch bass.
Yeah.
Because that's like shore fishing and then fishing heavily pressured boat fishing. That's heavily pressured shore fishing, heavily pressured boat fishing.
Yeah. Well, a couple of the guys that have come over, fucking.
Dude, Koya Fujita.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine?
Dude,
I had lunch with
insane.
them I had lunch with them this summer.
No way.
I got to take him to lunch. Honestly, probably the highlight of my year was having an hour-long conversation with him in 3 hours this summer. And just thinking about how I was trying to just put himself in my shoes. He drives a Tundra into the parking lot, right? Can't speak a lick of English.
And he's got like a storage unit or something like that.
I don't even know, but he's navigating the country.
Yeah.
Doesn't know English.
I know.
And taking our lunch money.
Yeah.
Like,
clapping our freaking
goes
cheeks.
to
dude.
Toledo Bend or wherever.
Yeah.
A famed Texas fishery.
Yeah, with mad history.
Never been there. From Japan.
Yeah.
And absolutely sushi rolls everybody, dude.
It's wild.
That is just fucking... Can you imagine? Like, I'm Kyle Schutta, and actually, my dream is to compete on the Italian professional bass tour.
Oh my God.
You know what
Just
I mean?
to
Like,
go there and drive around
yes.
would be hard.
It's like, no, I like competing in the United States, but I want to compete in Korea.
Yeah.
Because they have, like, South Korea has, bass fishing's huge in South Korea. Like, they have lakes, like, with bass in them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
No,
wanting? Like,
no, I can't.
Nope, I'm going to travel to Belarus.
Yeah.
Start my pro fishing career. I can't read any of their shit, but I'm going to beat their ass in. I'm going to beat their brakes in. You just watch.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, bud.
Yeah. I'd personally be out right away because my wife would have to book all the tickets for me.
Taco Ito? Like,
Dude.
look what he's done. Taco Ito just beat the brakes off everybody on Smith Lake for spotted bass.
Yeah.
Smith Lake is a maze of a reservoir. It looks like an intimidating absolute bastard.
I've been there twice.
And he wins with a 20 millimeter size of tofu and a little hard, weird scope and bait. Those guys are ninjas, man.
Dude, they're wild. Yeah, they're wild. Yep.
So, yeah, like a good day in Japan's catching like a couple bass.
Yeah, a couple
From the
2.5.
sounds of it. I don't know. I'm going into the month. I'm pretty excited. I don't think I'll have time to fish, though.
Oh, that would be lit if we did have to fish there.
I want to. all
just
I
to
wanna
see
do.
what it's about.
Bro, I watch probably more YouTube videos in Japanese than English, so I feel like I know what it's about, but I still don't know. But like Biwa, they got winter right now, so they're catching them on blade baits, like Main Lake.
Okay,
and,
so they're doing winter bass shit.
yeah, like bottom stuff, football jigs, and they're catching a lot of fish on crankbaits over there. Like the sport is going.
It's coming back around.
That whole piss a bass off thing, when they're all like, as soon as it comes around, I feel like the future's bright for a Schutta.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll get on the bank, but
I mean, they're going to have no choice here. After long, that'll be the only place they can't get jacked with.
Right.
But, you know, the other thing is, too, I do feel like where we live up here in the Midwest, once we get this cap over the lake like this, them bass just kind of forget everything. They kind of forget what happened to them last year. They're like, oh, shit, I forgot about that place, dude.
keep them like an 8-month bender.
They do. They forget, you know, like, I don't know.
Why don't the smallmouth forget where they spawn, though?
I don't know.
What?
Dude.
I feel like they just have, like, they don't even think about it. Like,
That rock. That's my rock.
I bang in this fucking crevice.
I hit right there.
That's where I hit.
Like, do you know what homing pigeons do?
No.
You never heard of a homing pigeon?
A homing pigeon? I've heard of carrier pigeons.
Okay, so there's these things called homing pigeons. My uncle Scott actually raises, or he has them, right? He has like 200 of them.
Yep.
They literally raise these pigeons. They loft them to your house. So you have your loft at your house. And then they take these pigeons. They can put them in a crate, drive them like 600 miles away, and just let them go, and they'll beat you home. They'll fucking beat you home.
How much are these fucking things?
They're all different. I mean, you can get ones that are almost free, and then if you have a really gangster homing pigeon, they can go for like $5,000.
Fuck. Can we like?
But I mean, just
buy
think
a
about
fucking pigeon right now. Like, I want to
yes,
know.
yeah, Mom.
I want to bet on like $100 pigeon.
Yeah.
You know, like I see a lot of potential in that one. I understand this one's $5,000, but like
there's big money in it.
I want
it's
Rudy.
Crazy.
I want the Rudy, you know, or whatever. Like, let's buy some fucking pigeons tonight.
But just think about how legitimately crazy it is if you were in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and someone drove you to frickin' Chequamegon Bay and was like, navigate your way home, bro. Like, that's what they're doing. I mean, it's wild. So, yeah, when I think about a smallmouth betting on the same exact rock every year, that's not that crazy to me. I don't know how, but they just, I mean, it's nature, right? Nature's
the difference
wild.
between in my mind, the smallmouth and the pigeon is the view. That pigeon is like, seen that pasture.
Right, dude.
Well,
There's
maybe
like,
not.
There's
I
the
don't-
9 billionth frickin' pine tree I've flown by today. I don't know. They literally have an ability to just know exactly where to go.
See, so here's my thoughts. I feel like we have that ability, but we're domesticated, if that makes
for
sense.
sure.
Like, if you, like the Native Americans, prime example, like, they knew when it was about to storm, well before it was about to storm.
Right.
They knew, like, they could feel that, like, carrier pigeon stuff. I feel like animals are built with instincts like that, and we're animals just like anything else. And the difference is we're pretty coddled animals. You know, we're kind of like,
we're taken care of pretty good.
It's like we, if you had to live out there, I feel like we would maybe.
You'd have to adapt.
I feel like maybe, yeah.
If you're out in the galaxy, man, you just have to make it happen. Like now we're like, my freaking iPhone's about to die. I'm fucked.
We've separated ourselves from the universe in a sense. Like, I feel like that what is a home pigeon? Homing
pigeon, yeah.
Homing pigeon? I feel like they're just more connected to the universe than us. Like,
Something's wild with it, though. I mean,
dude, it's weird. That is weird.
Yeah.
Or ducks, like they say the duck migration thing is like...
migrate the whole entire country. Probably flying into the same little pothole slough every year. I don't know. I don't know anything about waterfall that much, but...
Well, if anyone knows anything about these homing pigeons, you got a couple of buyers right now.
Yeah.
So I'd hop on it. We're looking.
There
We're
you
looking
go.
hard.
Hit up my uncle Scott Schutta. He knows all about it.
I did a photo shoot out here for Vexus actually last year, and the camera guy is a falconer.
No way. So they like land at his arm and
He has
takes
a
care of
falcon.
him?
Yes. So like,
Does he raise him like from a baby?
I don't know. I can't remember. I've talked to him so much about it. He's probably told me all of that. But yeah, he has a falcon and he takes it hunting, and the falcon does the hunting. Like, he was asking me, like, do you have a lot of rabbits around? Like, because I like to take my falcon hunting. So it's like, you have a falcon, a fucking, let's call it a miniature eagle.
Yeah, basically.
He would call that an insult. Eagles are fucking buzzards to these falcon guys.
I believe
right?
that too. I think they are like
they become buzzards. Well,
yeah.
they're kind of like us, right? We've domesticated them, we've protected them, and now they're overpopulated and eating. They're not enough food for them, and they're eating, roadkill.
Whatever. Yeah.
Anyway,
Your dog.
so Teal's Bass Galaxy is now offering intergalactic merchandise. That's right. We got apparel now, baby. Check out our website. We got a variety of apparel, hats, bucket hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, all the finest goods. So stop on our website, tealsbassgalaxy.com, click on the apparel tab, and start looking good, baby. So like, yeah, like this falcon, he wears this thing, so
Yep,
it doesn't
big
claw him.
sleeve.
Yep, but this thing doesn't obey anybody else
But him.
because he feeds that falcon. So the falcon brings him the food, like, so if there's let's say there's rabbits on this lake right now, he'd be like, falcon, rah, and
Can
go
you point it?
kill a rabbit.
Does he point it? Like,
No, the falcon,
it knows what it's doing.
what it's doing. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't fucking point for me,
It's
right?
like, I'll see you in 20, bro.
Yeah. And the falcon goes, kills a rabbit, brings it back for him.
No
Like,
way.
How fucking sick is that?
That's nuts.
I want a falcon that brings me rabbits.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just wondering how the fuck, who's the first guy to get to that point with a falcon? I bet he was the third guy. Does that make sense?
I think his next thing needs to be that he needs to train that falcon how to figure out where all the mags are bedding, and then overlay them on a GPS and bring them back to him with all the waypoints.
Well, that's what I was wondering, like with a homing pigeon or with a falcon, like how good could you train that thing? Because I've seen, like, with my buddies flying drones around, like doing film stuff, they'll find the beds for me. The couple of film shoots I've done with JP on like sight fishing stuff for
I know
Mexis,
they can see him probably ridiculous.
the drones can see them. So like a bird's eye, that homing pigeon, I mean, it could probably deliver you a win if you had it trained well enough.
Deliver you a win for surely it could. Probably in like 15 minutes.
If you could teach it how to read and write, it might put the coordinates on a little scroll for you and drop
Like,
it.
oh,
but
that's a 2.5. Look for a 4.
yeah, bird training is so far from me. Like, I need to start with a robin or something small,
I'm just good on it. To be honest. I'm good. My uncle tells me
got
about
a
it, I'm
life
like,
scope,
oh my
man.
God.
It's a lot for me.
I got a lot of shit going on right now, man. That's over my head. So tell me about what you're pumped about for this year. What's your deal? Let's champs tour it. Let's go. Let's dive back into that. Look at the upcoming schedule and tell me what you're where you at.
I'm excited to kind of feel like some grounding underneath me. I feel like I've just been a lost soul a little bit. Like, not a completely lost soul, but
Definitely not a lost soul.
no, but like I feel like
You're ready to knock some teeth back.
I said that last year, though, is the thing. Like, every year I make a bunch of mistakes, and I say I'm not going to make those mistakes, and I feel really good about next year. But I said that last year, so, I'm going to say the same thing again.
You should. I mean, confidence, I mean, this is no secret
Right?
in this game. I mean, come on, man. If you're not confident, then you already lost the first entire step of this whole entire journey.
100%.
They asked me, some people might say this is cocky or whatever. They asked me the first night of the first tournament meeting or whatever. They're like, what are your goals for this year? They ask you what your goals are. What the hell you mean? What the fuck are my goals? My goal is to win every single tournament that I enter.
Gave you my entry fee, didn't I?
Dude, I'm trying to win everything. Do you expect somebody to show up and be like, well, a couple top 10s and a bomb would be good enough for me? Like, I mean, you want to win, right? So you got to be confident. I mean, that's the
100%.
first step of like, yes, I want to show up and win, And then they almost dang near jinxed me on that championship. They
Really?
said on the live feed like 2 hours left. They're like, Kyle Schutta said he wanted to win a championship and win Angler of the Year, and he might be able to do it. I'm like, don't fucking say that now, dude. There's still 2 hours left. I can definitely screw this up right now for sure.
Oh, you can, and but you didn't.
No, thank God we came up on top. But
so for me, it's that I'm excited to be more level-headed, and I'm excited to give a fuck less, if that makes sense. And I'm excited to just be a little more free and not caring next year.
I think that's huge. I think that's probably the biggest thing, honestly.
I'm excited to have fun and do shit my way and do the best I can, and try not to have to requalify and win a boat and win an event.
Yeah, that's how you need to be thinking.
Yeah, I'm like you, man. The events I've come close at with Champs Tour, second, thirds, and fourths and fifths. Like,
it's hard to win.
I've choked them all away. Choked them all away.
It's freaking hard to win. It's so hard to win, dude. It's hard.
Bogey was weird, and this year will be similar with that blackout. Like, because the Bogey second half, that app wasn't working. And I'm catching, like, some good ones, but not fast. And I'm like, what place am I in? I'm like, you're still in first, but the app's down. I'm like, what do you do then?
Freaking cremating them, dude.
What do you do then? Do you change your game plan? Right? Like when you don't know and you're still in first, the app's down. For me, it was like, I can't like panic right now and assume I'm not in first.
You keep doing what you're doing.
And that's what I did. And I ended up third, right? But had I known I wasn't in first anymore, I know 2 things that I would have done.
No shit.
Yep. But it's like, it was almost like this stagnant for the first time ever with the scoreboard where I'm like, I just caught a 2 3.5s and a 4 and a 2. But Hunter was waxing them, but I didn't know it. So it's like this
I
year,
never seen that coming, that whole current driven freaking blowout. I was like, say what? Never seen that coming.
I missed what him, Dane, and those guys found on the East End. I had my own little thing, but I missed that too, bud. And now it's clear as day to me, like looking back.
Yeah, of course, now that they won. Like, shit.
I seen that sand edge. I seen that edge, fished it in practice, but it's like.
How about them brown dogs?
Did not show.
You were the one that was like, oh, there's a freaking grip bed, and I like went over there. Like you said, marked like 70, 80 of them, came in there in the tournament, fished for like 3 minutes. I was like, I think in 3 minutes I seen like 1 basket caught. I said, not the ticket, brother. Bye.
I abandoned it in practice. I did not think I could catch him quicker than another guy to win. And I said, well, James Chapman is going to be, he's going to beat me this way, and I don't think it's going to be won this way. So I abandoned him after day 1.5 of practice.
Good ups on you then. You were on it right away. I thought that Hunter maybe a guy could win.
First half.
I thought a guy maybe could win off that. And
it did get one off that. Hunter, I mean, that's not what did it for him, but it's what got him his half.
It's got him. Yeah, it saved him.
The winner had bedded smallmouth first half.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't know. For some goofy reason, not even that big a smallmouth there either. I was like, oh, these should be a freaking given, dude. We can bust them. For whatever case, them things did not want to snap. It was really weird. I was like, I'm not going to mess with this because I had a whole bunch of spots. And then this is one of them broken record tournaments where I don't even know how, but I end up losing like 8 or 10 really big bass. Guess how I lost them? On a frog.
That's how I would
big
lose them.
4.5 pounders. Oh, broke my heart like some fry guarding. Big ones. It's freaking big ones, dude.
There's a reason I'm not more of a frog fisherman today, and it's because the frog broke my heart at a young age. It's been hard to trust her ever since.
Same. I lost a boat that I should have won. I had one like here to that wall away, like 10 feet on a frog that came off. That was a boat win.
So, what are you most excited about this year? Like, you're fishing Champs Tour. What else are you fishing?
Just a handful of rando tournaments. Nothing crazy.
Nothing south?
So been kind of thinking about that a little bit. And let me dive into this. I fished the invitationals. A lot of stress, dude. I mean, you're driving around. I mean, you're driving to, Florida, freaking Georgia, Maryland. And I had multiple times on that tour when I had like lost one bass here to there. Is like, well, there's my $10,000 check. That's gone.
Right.
So
right.
That's really stressful. And to me, as a person who like fully admit, like, I'm not going to bass fish for a living. That's not what I'm going to do. Okay. I love it. It's amazing, but that's not what I'm going to do to make my paper in this world. Okay.
I understand that.
So you kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, let's have fun with this. And it's kind of like you said, where it's like, okay, I got to fish a national tour. I got to see what that was like. I experienced it. It was cool. Don't regret a single second of it. Great time, everything's fine. But now let's have fun with it. Let's have fun with it. Let's really just have fun with it. And that's what last year was to me. Like, well, I really do have fun on the champ tour, so you're talking about confidence coming into the thing. What's your goals? What do you think my goals are? And so that's where I am this year with like, I'm going to go back to the champs tour because that's a freaking blast. Mm-hmm. Dane is now the owner of the champs tour. One of the best dudes ever. Think he's probably going to absolute dominate it. I mean, Scott and Nancy have made a great reputation for it. They did flawless the whole way through. Now it's getting sold to another great guy, so it should be just as, if not a better time than it was before. So I'm looking at fun.
Dude. Yeah.
Really. I can tell you when they announced it, and we were there and they're like, yeah, the Tramps tour is getting sold. I was like, oh, fuck. And then they're like, to Dane Vocelka. I was like, oh, fuck. Like that's how I went like up, down,
Dude, he told me 1 week before that.
Oh, he did?
He knew all summer.
No.
And didn't tell me. When he broke the news, he's like, Teal, if I tell you something, I have to tell you something. You have to promise you will not tell anyone.
Yeah.
Not one person. Okay? And he's like, probably not going to see this coming. I'm like, fuck, you're getting a divorce already? Like, that's where my head went. And then he told me, I'm like, holy fuck. And to watch everybody's kind of reaction.
Yeah. You kind of already knew ahead.
I was like, that was cool for me.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. So I'm happy about that. I think, not that anything crazy needed to change with the Champs Tour because I think it's fine the way it is, but I think any changes he does do are probably going to be for the better.
I see like a future. To me, the Pro-Am format with the app is a really cool best 8, best.
Kind of bringing back the Minnesota Pro-Am feel.
Yep. And the demand, I feel like, is there where you could almost make it to 2 circuits, right? You have your, I don't know. There's so many ways you could do it, but I think, like, the foundation Scott built is really just
killer. It's killer.
Killer, and we've got a really nice situation up here in the region, and I think the market's going to, like, professional bass fishing is only so big, and there's a lot of good bass fishermen all around the country. And if there's not good regional, organizations that are allowing good opportunities like that, I mean, that to me is what we're going to see more of, I would think, because 100 of the best anglers in the world, there's more than 3,000 that are fucking could probably compete.
Oh, for sure.
So it's fun times, man.
It's a great time.
Yeah, before robots and AI take over the world, man, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, we're going to go out with a bang, for sure.
Dude. Yeah, dude. I'm just wondering, like, when do you get a robot? Like, at what point, like, do you fight it till, like...
No, dude, you get one as soon as you possibly can.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm getting one as soon as they're available.
Clean my house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Check that tip up.
Give me HJ. Just kidding.
No, dude. I mean, I'll be honest. I would take a robot with me scanning just for hand jobs. You know what I mean? Like,
you like that one?
Here's the deal, dude. You gotta fish with a clear head. And if you got
no
a robot,
pressure, right?
Hey man, this robot's here to fucking tie my leaders.
I paid
give
for
me
it.
hand jobs.
I paid for it. All right.
If you had a robot to tie my leaders and give me hand jobs, I don't know if I'd have anything to complain about, Mister Schutta.
I know. I think life's getting too easy for us, honestly.
We're about to be just little bitches.
I think, are we creating weak people?
Robot. Like, we're going to be little prudes in like 10 years.
Exactly. I really got to mix my own drink? This is ridiculous.
I said Diet Coke.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird times we're heading for.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't imagine for HVAC. You're fucked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
I don't know.
Like, robots are taking over HVAC. HVAC's
No way.
fucked.
No way.
HVAC is fucked.
No.
Yes, dude.
Robots are fucked when it comes to HVAC.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it depends. Fuck, I don't know who wins in that fight.
Oh, dude.
I think I believe in you. I think you could take them, but like they're robots, man. They don't feel pain.
They can't walk up and down the stairs with shit in their hands all
Can't
day.
flip a jig like you.
No, them robot can't skip a dock.
No, absolutely not.
No. Honestly, in the robot thing, though, in the workforce with AI and all this stuff, I think tradesmen are going to be making more than doctors here in a few years.
If they harness it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're ahead, if you're like looking into it right now to say, how can I have AI? You know, it's there's a learning curve with that too, is the problem. Like, I don't know, but you're right. I think AI aside, I think you're right. Just because I don't think we need doctors like we think we need them.
No, but you know what we do need is the tradesmen. I mean, how can you train a robot or AI to go put something in, install it? The, electricians, the plumbers, HVAC dudes. I mean, I watched this whole entire thing come full circle. I mean, I graduated high school 2003. It was like, I went to heating and air school for a couple of years, and it was the height of the freaking recession, right? I mean, you were like begging to get any construction job, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just anybody that would hire you was like, oh my God, thank God, I have a job, sweet, Mm-hmm. And it was in the height when everybody was trying to get a degree. Got to get a 4-year degree. Got to do that. Got to go to state college. Now it's come back around, and these young kids, I have a bunch of young kids that reach out all the time. They're like, hey, thinking about going into the trade. I'm like the biggest advocate for that. Like, dude, you absolutely should go into a freaking trade. I mean, you can go to school for a year and a half. It's going to cost you like 10 grand, and you're going to be making 90 grand a year starting. Yeah, that's what you should do. And it's going to get better. It's just going to keep getting better.
There's not a lot of jobs out of college that pay that good.
No.
Most of them don't.
No.
Accountants don't even do that good.
No.
You go extra couple years, get a CPA,
But still, and then you got the college debt, There's not a bad route if you're a hard worker. Thing is that we're going to need these tradespeople because all the baby boomers did all them jobs and they're retiring. So it's like, it's a supply and demand thing, right? Like, I need a new furnace. Well, who does that? Well, there's only a couple guys in town and they're booked out. It's like, what do you think happens?
Yeah, dude.
The price goes up.
Yep. And I'm happy to see that, man, because I guess I grew up in I think the end of you need to go to college for 4 years. I didn't have a choice.
You were in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you were in the slot. You were like a walleye that's like 19 and a half inches long baby. Right now.
Yeah.
Dude. You're getting kept.
Oh, man, dude. I think aliens are for sure real.
Yeah, I know you do.
Well, the government admitted it. Like, you've watched drone shit?
Yeah,
I think
wild.
I feel like that's a distraction. I don't know.
He's like, no.
I feel like they're distracting us from the real problem.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm curious about is I feel like we've gone from the 1940s to 2023. Aliens aren't real. Government, nope, not real. Now all of a sudden, turns out we were lying the whole time, and they're real. Like,
yeah, and we have
government
multiple proven times that they know about them.
I feel like the information age is about to reach its cusp where we're gonna learn who killed JFK. Are these aliens, interdimensional spiritual beings, or are they actual like fucking weird looking lizard things from another planet? I feel like the next 10 years are going to be the wildest 10 years of our lives.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Okay, so we have rods.
Yeah. Just to be relevant.
Just so people know, the fishing is good on Mille Lacs if you put your fucking house in the right spot.
I mean, this is where the smallmouth bites. I don't really care about
That's
the walleyes.
all I want to catch, dude. I brought tiny Japanese blade baits.
Dude, I like these too. I might throw these in the summer.
Honestly,
on a bait caster with like 25-pound test.
They make them up to a half ounce. This is the OSP Override. And honestly, it's designed, it comes through cover better than other blade baits. So, yeah. To me, it'd be like half ounce red craw, Gunnersville spring, cold front day.
So, that's what they're catching them on Gunnersville a couple of years ago when they had that, I think it was a Costa Championship on Gunnersville.
Okay.
And they kind of fleece them on that.
Wait, middle of the summer, or are we talking cold water?
Nope, November.
Huh. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
I was always wondering about that.
Yeah.
Because to me, I feel like when everybody's hunting, daddy's catching them on the blade bait. You know what I mean?
That's where I'm absent in the frickin', because you know I love hunting. So
I know you do. You're good at it.
Dude,
I seen that deer. You shot a fucking big deer this year, didn't you? You shoot one every year.
Caught a pretty good one. 20-pound test. Yeah. No, yeah. It was a good one. Not a giant, but like pretty decent buck. Shot it with a bow. I only pretty much bow hunt. And the second I shot it, it was like 3 minutes later, a yote comes in, catches the trail, and kicks it off. And I'm like, I know I need to get a dog.
You're like, my cat's not going to be.
No, my cat is not going to find this. And I was in South Dakota, so I called up a buddy of mine. He drove like 4 hours one way, had his dog, and I would have never got that freaking deer if he didn't have that dog.
What kind of dog?
I think they're just like coonhounds.
Oh.
But those things are dialed, dude.
Really?
Yes.
Like, find that shit for you.
Oh my God. So this thing, so okay. I know this is a bass fishing podcast, but I'm going to dive into this for 2 seconds.
No rules, bud.
This is a nature thing that's bizarre to me. So when a deer is walking...
Everything's connected.
Exactly. So when a deer is walking, whatever, they're just deer. Dogs can probably smell that too. But the second that you fatally hit a deer, like you shoot a deer and it gets hit and it's mortally wounded... It immediately secretes a wax out of the middle of its hoof.
A deer, yeah.
A deer. The second it's hit. And that's what them dogs sniff. They sniff a wax out of their hoof when they're hit. And so that's what they sniff. And
they
so
just jizz out the shit out their hoofs?
Whatever
like,
it is.
I'm dead, so I'm jizzing this stuff out my hoof?
Yeah. I mean,
that's weird,
there's a wax that comes out of there. It's actually a waxy substance. Even if it's... raining or snowing, doesn't matter. I mean, and them dogs can smell that, and that's what they're keyed up on, and that's how that dog smelled that one. So,
I bet you could wax your guides with that. Like when I'm catching them on a blade bait, when you're like, man, these secretions, and you're tracking this deer, and you're like, man, these secretions. You should be picking them secretions up and delivering them to me so I can put them around my guides. So when I'm catching them on a blade bait, they don't get frozen.
That's a good call. I mean, I'm going to rub that wax on my jig, so when I'm skipping docks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and so this wax. So this wax comes out of the deer when it dies.
When it's wounded.
Once it's dead, no more.
Well, yeah.
So while it's alive,
of course it's there, but then you'll find the deer where it dies.
Do you think it's physically pushed? Like, you know how you have to pee? You have to push to pee. Do you think they do that with the hoof? Like,
no, I don't think they do. I think it's just I personally think it's Mother Nature's way of just cleaning everything up.
Well, they say when we die, we shit and piss ourselves.
Oh,
you know, that's the thing? When you die, you shit yourself.
I won't be worried about it when I
so
kick
like
the bucket.
We secrete too when we're wounded. Yeah, I don't know if we do that when we're wounded though.
I don't think so.
I don't think I poop when I'm wounded. I've been wounded a bunch. Fucking wounded calf.
Yeah.
Fucking, I ain't
Veal.
shitting.
Little veal. Aaron
Yeah,
Veal.
no. Yeah, dude. No, I don't poop when I'm wounded. So I
Good.
think that's different. You're right.
Yeah. It's different. It's just
Well,
a
it's
bizarre
not poop
thing.
either. I don't wax. Well, my ears, I guess. I don't know if my ears wax more when I'm wounded. Like, that's the only waxing that I'm aware of that we secrete is earwax, right?
I guess.
I've never, I don't even know if earwax has utility.
I don't even know.
But what's interesting to me is the blade bait thing in November down south.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always, I'm like, give me a tournament where I can fish a blade bait.
No shit.
And
So you're
win.
into that then?
I am. I've thrown probably more blade baits than most people, but it's always a certain water temperature.
So I have zero freaking experience with the blade bait. I mean, not zero, but like 2%. No, it's not my thing.
It is so your
I
thing.
want to learn it.
It is when the water gets a certain temperature,
Let's go with what that temperature is.
50 and less
Okay.
is when it
All
starts.
the way to freeze up.
48 to fucking, yep, if you can put your boat in the lake and cast at a fish.
And we're talking brown dogs, green dogs,
Brown
doesn't
and
matter.
green. Yep, I've done it from Big Stone to Mille Lacs.
No way.
Yep, smallmouth. Yep. Really good for smallmouth just because of the type of bait it is and the cleaner area that you're fishing for smallmouth.
And what are you throwing that on? That's a spinning rod?
Nope.
Your bait casting?
Nope. I had a
14?
I had an $80 crankbait style rod that I liked that was stiffer. So stiff enough where when you pulled it, rod didn't fold over, but limber enough where it had that noodle bend midway down.
Mm-hmm.
And then my old mentor Nick Gross had this fig rig, the old fig rig rod that's got the big cork above it.
Yeah.
And that's like my
this
secondary.
long.
That's my secondary blade bait rod. We usually have 3 of them on the deck that time of year. But
So you're feathering it then, or?
it is the most efficient way to make a bass react in cold water. So that's why to me it's Schutta, but if Schutta could get himself to understand how to fish it, that's probably the biggest thing people have a hard time with a blade bait, is they think of it more like a lipless crankbait than they do a jig. And it's more of a jig than a lipless crankbait.
Because you're letting it hit the bottom and you're pumping it?
Bro, you're letting it hit bottom.
Slow.
You're lifting that rod just slow enough to make it and then fall again.
So you're not ripping it up like a trap out of the grass in the spring.
If you could get a chatterbait to have that same little of movement on the pull, a chatterbait could do it. But the problem is that chatterbait moves too far and too fast, and you have to pull it too far to make it. So that's
you're
why a
doing
blade
little
bait.
movements. I mean,
It is like, I've had it where they're there, they'll follow it, no matter how you jig it, you can pull them back to the boat, but to get them to bite, it's figuring out just little cadence. And I've had days where you have to let the metal sit between hooks for 5 seconds on the bottom, and they eat it.
And they're looking at it, and they
After
pin
4.
it. They pin it down.
Pin it down and fucking, but they're weird.
So you
bites.
go to pull it, and it's like, oh, I got one.
That's the thing, is they're weird bites. The bite feels like a snag. They're eating it off the bottom almost 80% of the time. Mm-hmm. So when you're pulling that up and you're getting resistance, that rod's here, and it's so it's an awkward set. So in my mind, you need a rod that's gonna keep that resistance and allow you to get that hook started on a weird set, but yet moderate enough, because you'll lose about half of them if you don't have your hook and rod set up right.
Right, yeah.
Hayden Anderson taught me how to tie the bladed split ring deal.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
So that's instead of your split ring there, if you had a treble with the split ring, you do a braided line instead. So 65, 50-pound braid, so that treble can twist all the way around, so those fish have no leverage on you.
Okay.
Which is ultimately the issue with the blade bait. What's nice about
I know
this
what you're
one,
talking
it's
about now.
small
Now I
enough.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this one's small enough where they get the whole thing in their mouth, and they typically don't have that issue. But on that half-ounce size,
A little bit bigger bait.
It's a lot more weight, and yeah, it's a bigger deal at that point. But largemouth on Big Stone, I went with Bankston there one day. It was a snowstorm. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is this happening?
I don't know.
We were talking about the weather, and
Let's hope
Eat
it's
it.
not one of these little small walleyes. We'll see.
I want to hear the Schutta buzzer. Bzzz. What was that? It's got like a buzzer on these things. You could be drunk as hell and wake up to there. Oh my God, there it is.
He's got it right there.
That's it. Yeah.
This one is just hanging out.
That's a rattle reel, right? That's a fucking buzzer reel right there.
I think this one wants me to take a sip of beer and wait for him to eat the minnow.
Open the bail, Schutta.
That's what I'm doing. I'm feeding him the Ned
It's
rig
the
right
only
now.
option we have here, bud. There's no, you can't move. You can't go cast at another one. You gotta fucking open the bail. How do you do this? This is the opposite of Schutta. The more I sit here and talk to you during this podcast, the more I understand that I don't understand you, because I don't know how you do this. Everything I know about you as an open water fisherman is the opposite of what we're doing right now in an ice house, and the rods are still in the Cabela's bags. Like, how do you cheers? That's how you do this.
I think it's more of like, what choice do we have? You know what I'm saying?
Give this man less choices, and so maybe less choices is better.
I don't know. Like, obviously, if I didn't have to work in the winter, that would be sick. I probably would not be in the state right now. That's what I would be doing. I'd be hanging out with lifermen right now. Like,
what would you be throwing on the Harris chain today?
Oh, my
What's your
gosh.
first lure you pick up if you're
Probably
fishing
a
in
chatter
Florida?
stick for sure.
I was gonna guess it.
Thing's stupidly lethal.
It is. What's interesting about Florida is the weather and the cold fronts, and how those fish react to cold fronts.
Oh
like
my gosh!
a bitch compared to ours.
Like 10 degrees is life altering.
Like 10 degrees is the difference between 25 and 6 pounds or 0.
Yep.
Like,
yep. And then so they can predict, you know, in Florida they can predict when it's going to be ridiculous, right? Like,
yeah.
If it's cold for 2 weeks, and then tournament's coming in and it's like 85 the day before, like, get ready. They're weighing 38 pounds.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild how that's so
It is.
different like that? I mean, I think that's bizarre to me, you know. But I think it's that southern strain bass just reacts differently to that. Like, you start coming up the country and you get into Alabama and all that, they're kind of mixed, you know, northern with the southern strains, and I don't know, they don't react quite like they do down in Florida. Florida's just a weird thing.
Can you imagine, though, tournament morning, knowing there's a 15-degree drop, and knowing that if you want a chance in hell, you're going to have to do, like, the most painful thing you've ever had to do for 8 hours? Like, how is that easy to be excited about? Understanding that I have to be maybe Mike McClellan today and do an 1/8 ounce trick worm and fish 3 pad stems all fucking day, or punch this reed section, right? Let's say that's a hyacinth mat. I have to punch this fucking ice house worth of mat for 8 hours straight.
Because, you know, at any point you could bend up on a 9.
Yeah, and you know, well, it's just, how do you approach a cold front day in Florida, right? Because we've all witnessed those days where it literally is like, dude, nothing was biting. Like, there's just nothing.
So let me say it like this.
Like, how do you do that?
Even worse, be a Minnesota guy where, believe me, the bass bite pretty much all the freaking time. I mean, even when they're not biting, they're still biting.
Still biting enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to where you can figure things out. Go down and fish a national tour in Florida, and then during practice, it's freezing cold. You could have fished by the winning school like 5 times. You don't even know. You know, it's like, shit, you know, like everything I found, well, the weather was cold, so just throw it out the door. I mean, it don't even matter. Right?
You didn't find nothing.
No, it don't matter. You know, you just go back like, well, that place looked probably the best.
Right.
Like, I can tell you on my Okeechobee tournament that I fished, I went through this one area and it was kind of cold when I went through there, and it was in the morning, right? And I was like, man, this freaking looks gas, dude. This is like the shit, dude. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't catch a fish. I went all through the thing, and then Nick Hatfield, the dude that I knew, he ended up top 10ing out of there.
If I remember right.
Oh, he's absolutely, he's going to be like the next thing. Well, he already kind of is, but
yeah.
Yeah, and I met him through Garrett Rockamora, who lives in Florida, who's a buddy of mine for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Knows Nick really good, and they're like, dude, this guy's the freaking next thing, man. Like, yeah, he's one of them naturally talented, like, oh, yeah, I don't know, I just went through there and ended up catching 20.
John
like,
Cox type.
Oh, just like, dude, what? So
that's John Cox type.
Yeah, it was him and Josh Weaver. Josh Weaver ended up winning the tournament. It was in that exact area, but I had been in there and practiced it, and it was like 8 a.m, looked gas. I never had a bite, never nothing. And I was like, man, I can't believe that, Well, that's where it was won, and Nick was in there on a top 10. Like, I mean, you can legitimately, when they're not biting, roll through an area and not even get a bite down in Florida.
And I feel like those guys who know that don't even fish that, and they just look.
They just know. They're like, oh, the weather's setting up like this, I'm going to show up when it counts.
All I can think of is, like, with perspective now, I'm just going to roll around with perspective. Because you can, like, them grass spots, you see above with your eyes, right? You can see things with your eyes. Add perspective to that.
It's
and
wild.
Just roll around.
I've never even messed with perspective.
Fuck. But
it's pretty stupid.
Well, I know, like, Easton Fothergill on Chobe last year, like, he didn't even know he was right next to Scott Martin the whole time because Scott was in a different boat and all that. But, like, Easton was using perspective for 80% of his fish.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Like,
so they're looking at him on the bed on perspective.
On the bed, around the bed. Like, think about a little, like, you're in 2 feet of water, right, on a grass flat. I can see this grass edge, and I know there's this edge, and now you have perspective.
Yeah.
And you know how dark it is in Florida. Like, it is tough to sight fish in Florida because of how dark it is.
It's
like,
mad tough, dude. It's
like,
super tough.
So we're in 2 feet of water, but we're in Florida. The water's not that dirty, but it's hard to see, like, for some reason.
It's tannic. I mean, you call it tannic. I mean, it's like
dark.
You're sitting there and you're like, it's 1.5 feet deep. And you're like, I can see the bed. And then it's like a shadow goes through the bed. You're like, that was the bass. I know he's here, but you can't see him. In Minnesota, you're like, okay, I'm reading that fish. I'm looking at the fish. Like, when I'm bed fishing in Minnesota, and, like, trust me, that's my
Way
thing.
different.
I'm so about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're reading that fish even when he's not on the bed. You're reading, like, okay, what is this fish doing, and where's it swimming, and why is it swimming like that? Okay.
Yep.
So when you get to like in Minnesota, a lot of times, I've told people a bunch of times, they're always like, well, how do you be successful at bed fishing, And I always tell them, I said, I'd rather fish for a 3.5 pounder that's locked on the bed tighter than a drum rather than a 5 pounder that's wandering all over hell.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to catch a 3.5.
We're going to get back to this Florida thing, but I got questions about that and what you look for in a bed fish and how you approach that, because to me, there's a lot of different factors and a lot of hacks that maybe...
Oh, yeah, bed fishing.
To
Yeah,
me,
got
angle.
Microphone's caught out. All right, we're done. Just kidding. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I think just what's more important to you, the angle that you're fishing the bed or the lure that you're throwing? That's my first
angle
question.
for sure, 100%. I don't think lure is really that key.
What about the angle and why? And what angle?
Just getting away from the fish as much as you can. Getting farthest away that you can.
Yep.
From the bed fish.
Yep.
And then finding the right fish.
Yep.
That's what I preach in bed fishing. Finding the right fish,
Well, yeah, obviously.
I mean, dude, all the bed tournaments that I've, had a lot of success in or won, like, I weigh the bag, and the bag that I weighed, there was like 7 bass that I know that were on bed that were bigger than any of the thing I had in the bag, but it's like, if it's not going to bite, fucker ain't going to bite.
So you won't spend too much time on
I won't. No.
How much time do you spend?
Depends on how big it is and where I'm at in the tournament. And like,
yep.
So
what's the longest you spent, and what's the typical
an
10,
hour?
20?
An hour. We
Yep.
spent. So Chris
That's
Amiot.
the right bass,
Yeah. So Chris Amiot is my tournament partner that I fish almost like 95% of my tournaments with. Him or Nathan Whiting. Like Amiot, like the guy, dude, he's so fucking good. He's like sneaky, one of the best undercover dudes in this whole entire state. I mean, the guy's got, he always fished a lot of smaller clubs around Minnesota, but like tons of Angler of the Year titles. The guy's like record is like 20 tournaments without cash, with cashing a check for like 20 tournaments straight. I mean, the dude's like legit, right? And he loves beds too. That's why me and him are like best tournament partners, because we just think the same when we're on the water.
Yep.
And I can remember a tournament, and it was recently too, and it was in a Denny's Super 30, the first one there on bed. We had like an okay bag, and we had passed a couple fish that they just weren't. It was like, dude, your lure's in the air and they're freaking gone, and you don't see them for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm probably not going to spend that much time on that, because it's like, what's the odds we're actually going to bust this fish? Probably nothing, So we don't mess with that. And then we had this one that I was actually like, me and him, we weren't huffing, but I was like, dude, we're not going to catch this thing, man. This thing's so bad. It was right by a dock, and like you'd cast and it would leave. I mean, like, 3 minutes would go by, and when you're fishing for a bedfish and you're sitting there for 3 minutes like this and there's nothing there, that's like an eternity.
I agree.
Okay. It's like, oh my God. And so finally he's like, no. And this is after like 30 minutes. He's like, it's kind of looking, but at this point we had a decent bag, and we had one in the bag that was like 2.5 pounds, and we're guessing this one at like a 4-pounder. So we're like, well, dude, what the hell else are we going to do? Right?
Yep.
We'll just go randomly try to find a fish. We didn't have shit then. So we're like, well, we're going to gamble the farm on this one, And so we gambled the farm on it, right?
Yeah.
Turns out, freaking an hour later, he's like, it was actually like 45 minutes later. All of a sudden he's like, he's kind of looking, he's kind of changing his mood a little bit, And I'm like, okay, whatever. And like, when we bed fish, a lot of times the one guy will fish and the other guy goes to the back of the boat, because this is a common thing, like especially with co-anglers. Any co-anglers that are listening right now, dude, if your boater is fishing for a bedfish, don't think that's shitty. Like, trust me, there's a shit ton of bass where you are. That's where they want to spawn, right? So like the other guy needs to get your ass in the back of the boat and start casting around. They live around here. This is where they want to nest. Okay, so like we're definitely like, okay, yeah, you do your thing up there. Like, you're gonna try to catch that mag, but like I'm gonna go back there and do that, because a lot of people are like, he's on a bed, stupid. No, I'm never gonna catch nothing. They sit down there.
Fish have you caught?
Oh, lots.
Yeah,
tons.
Largemouth.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely,
That's
dude.
cool. That's cool.
I can think of many times like one of us is perched up on one else, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a freaking giant. Frick, I got the thing, get the net, like all the time, So
yeah,
so you don't give up just because one guy's fishing. But anyway, back to that Tonka bass. The thing started changing its mode. An hour in, Chris ends up getting the thing, and it was a 5.8. It was big bass of the tournament. I was like, holy shit. And we called it a 4-pounder when we were looking at it.
So he just kind of waited it out.
Pissed it off enough to bite, which usually almost never happens. But we didn't have anything else to do, so you asked the question of like, how long
well,
you
you
stay?
needed a dagger at that point.
Yeah,
you needed your dagger.
It's all relevant at that point. If I was fishing for that one at 8 o'clock in the morning, I would have stayed for about 3 minutes.
Dane and I sat 2-some hours on one that was, on Sturgeon Bay, it was well over 7.
Yeah, you needed it.
Yep, we didn't have poles.
Game changer.
And it was windy and it was blowing in there, so we had a spot lock around it, and it was not. Them fish are different, right? It'd be like,
I've never been there, but I've heard.
But all I can think of when you say that is I remember fishing Florida, stick marsh, and there's that ground, right, where you have your pre-spawn movement, or a wave, if you will, and they'll spawn in quick.
Oh, dude, they freaking push and go down south.
We didn't know what the fuck we're doing, so we're, running ditches, paralleling speed worms, chatterbaits.
Fun shit.
Doing the shit, and then, we're getting up to a shallow flat. Let's throw some Senkos and some flukes around, guys. Okay. And this guy's, like, pulled up, power pulls down in, a very calculated location, right? And we're fishing out from him, and he doesn't touch fishing pole. He's just sitting in the cockpit for, I swear to God, 2 hours.
He's reading the fish?
I have no idea, right?
Yeah.
We're just wondering what the fuck he's going on, because there's like this dude who pulled up shallower than kind of everybody else was on the deal, power pulls down and doesn't make a cast for 2 hours. Think about that.
Bizarre.
Hour and a half to 2 hours in, we see him get up on the front deck, make 3 casts, lose like a 10-pounder by the boat, loses that fish, puts his power poles up, and leaves.
No way.
Yeah, I kid you not.
Stalked it.
I have no fucking clue what happened.
He was hunting a deer.
I have no idea, but it felt like, you know how I feel like bed fishing, you said get as far away as possible. And I think about like putting your power poles down for 2 hours, right? And like not moving in the cockpit, right?
Yeah.
You are a bog that floated in as far as they're concerned. A hyacinth mat.
That's absolutely a
right.
thing.
And I just think we don't think like that up here. And like, I feel like you have this a little bit more experience and success bed fishing than most people. So just, I wanted kind of your read on that. And because to me, I see a lot of parallels with what we're talking about. And it's interesting with bed fishing. I've seen it with Dane too, where I found a bed fish on the river. And we couldn't make it bite. Get around the dock from it.
Freaking chomped.
And I'm fishing another one, and Dane's like over the dock. I'm like, what the fuck did you just do? Like, why did you just do that?
Why not?
And it bit right away.
Yeah.
Right? And we had backed off the fish, but as soon as we got around the dock, he over the dock, one cast it. I remember like losing my mind, like, how are we going to get this fish in the boat? And I remember keeping my feet on the boat, over the dock, net the fish, like a 3 3/4, which
got
is
it.
a good one on the river, right?
Yeah, it's a giant.
Those are like little bed fishing things that I guess I've picked up on over the years. And I guess I think about angle. Is it more about them like trying to make them not see you? But I've also talked to people where it's like, even if they can see you, there's a spot in the bed they don't like, and there's a way you cast that they don't like.
Yeah, both are 100% true. Both are 100% true. Guaranteed fact. I mean, the more that the fish can't see you, the more pressure's off of him, and there's definitely a spot in the bed. But also, like, you know, some fish, like, I'm not going to say you can't catch, but they're just really difficult. And okay, so let me segue into an awesome story.
Yeah,
like, this is
please.
For the less fortunate for me. But anyway, so me and Chris, we enter the first Denny's is on Tonka, right?
Yep.
We freaking find all our bedfish, whatever. We go catch them, and we're like, dude, that one, though, I know where a good one's at. Let's go in there, and we fish for this bastard for like 40 minutes, right? And it's in like kind of dirtier water. It's in one of the dirtier lakes. We can barely see it, and this thing has his bait like in its mouth, like both of our bait in its mouth, like a couple different times. Just didn't have it in far enough to set, whatever. So we don't end up catching this fish, right? That fish cost us the win in the Denny's. We're like, fuck, you know, had we caught that, we would have won by like 2 pounds. I mean, it was like 1.5 pounds. It would have been a guaranteed win, right? So the following weekend is the Classic, Minnetonka Classic on Saturday. It's the week after. That fucking bass is still there. It hasn't moved yet,
No
right?
way.
We fucking lose that tournament fishing for that fish again. We would have won
Twice?
either of the tournaments
One
with
bass,
that
2
bass.
tournaments.
Yes, that fish cost us the win in 2 tournaments, like a week spread apart. So, you know, the Denny's on Tonka is on a Tuesday, and then the Classic is on a Saturday. And that son of a bitch was on his bed the whole entire time. We fished for him for like 40 minutes in the first one and like 45 minutes in the second one. Had we caught him in either of the tournaments, we would have won.
Here's the deal, though. There's a silver lining, and you can sleep good knowing that you didn't try to Jeff Sprague or didn't Jeff Sprague it.
We ain't Jeff Spraguing nothing.
Exactly. So here's the deal. What you're saying is Superman does have a kryptonite, and there is always a bedfish that a bedfisherman can't catch.
Oh, there's not there's a shit ton. that you can't catch. Yes, I'm rolling on a bedfish if I can't catch it. I'm out. I'm going to find the next one. Let's go back to the, Easton Fothergill thing we talked about. Like, dude, if this one's not cooperating, I'm out.
As long as you got enough. Like, right, sometimes that's the issue for me is smallmouth. I can find a bunch of beds.
Smallmouth don't count when it comes to bed fishing. Like,
that,
dude,
I was going to get into that.
That's so stupid.
And I don't disagree.
It's not stupid. I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's amazing. I love doing it, but it's like
cheating compared to largemouth fishing.
Oh my God! You're catching 98% of smallmouth that are on a bed. You're catching them.
Yeah, dude. It'd be like I'm trying to think, like a world-class drummer talking to a kid who just had a snare drum. Like Bud, there's a whole drum set to it, and like smallmouth. So I guess largemouth. When you're approaching a largemouth on a bed, what's your first like ideal 1-2 punch, right? Because I know there's a dual punch required in bed fishing in my mind.
Yeah,
ideal like largemouth more than smallmouth. Yeah. Anyway,
smallmouth. I can't even remember the last time I caught a smallmouth on a bait caster off a bed. It's all spinning rod, right?
Drop shot.
Yeah.
Ned rig.
I mean, whatever you want. Just name the bait. Okay, it doesn't matter.
It just depends how many times it got caught.
When it pretty much.
Like that's my mind.
230 on a Champster event. Like I don't know, dude. Like,
that was a subtle dig on a llama, dude. From years ago.
I was not there in that tournament. I was not part of that, but I heard about it. No, but I heard
massacre, that genocide.
I heard there was floaters, but I don't know. Yeah,
well, that was rumors. Yeah, I have no idea.
I've no clue. But anyway, back to the largemouth topic.
Yeah. Anyway. Yes. Hard fish catch on beds.
Multi different pronged approach for sure. You're trying to see them and see what they're doing, reading them. Like kind of, when you go back to saying, power pole down for 2 hours and watching a bass, for sure. Like they get more used to your boat when you're there. So their mood can change. But also my thing is like if I go into a largemouth spawn tournament, I want to know where like 80 of them are bedding. You like the target rich environments.
Yep. That makes sense with what I know about your style.
Yep.
Rapid fire.
Yep. I can't even tell you. Anytime there's a largemouth spawning tournament, I promise you every single one of them I've been in, I've seen the winning bag.
What's the first lure you throw?
Texas rig. Don't matter.
Creature?
Yep. Creature bait.
Heavy, light?
Probably like quarter.
Lighter. Yep.
Yeah.
Second bait, spinning rod?
I'm reading the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically not. Typically I'm staying with a spinning bait caster the whole time.
It seems like a quarter, right? It seems like that's your starting kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it seems like you'd have...
I've even went with 5/16, but even lighter too. But
if we're talking about a spectrum of the fish, right? You're starting in the middle, and you can go this way or this way.
Looking at the fish, and I'm reading that fish.
So you're gauging it. You're starting in the middle, right? This is a sane fish, right? This is a normal fish, the way fish are supposed to be. You're going to eat this 1/4 ounce Texas rig.
Mm-hmm.
That fish responds X way, this way, X way, this way. What's the difference in response?
I mean, the road map is massive. I mean, we're gonna read the fish,
Yep. But what tells you to throw like a big swim bait or like versus I need to throw a little 4-inch wacky something weightless, like lighter, heavy,
Yeah, I'll dig into that. First of all, I've never caught a bass off a bed with a swim bait or any kind of big bait. Never done that. I'm always like, let me dive into a story. So the first tournament I ever fished with my tournament partner, Chris Amiot, it was a bed fish tournament, right? I'm like, shit, yeah, you like beds? Oh, yeah, we barely knew each other, He catches this fish, and he caught it on a Texas rig, like pretty basic thing, and it was hooked. It was in the mouth, but it was like, you know what I'm saying? One of them ones where you're like, yeah, it's like a centimeter in and whatever. And it had the hook down in, but it started here and went in,
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
but I got you.
But it was in the mouth, 100%, And he was like, I don't know, man. And this is in like a $40 buy-in tournament, And he's like, I don't know, man. If you think I shouldn't keep this, I won't, So I'm like, right away, that's where our friendship got strong, because I was like, this dude's integrity is
For sure.
shit as fuck.
For
Like,
sure.
this dude's a solid ass dude. Like, you know, and it was like a 4 3/4. You know, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, technically the hook is in the mouth. I mean, yeah, I know it splits the rim here and goes in, but and he was like, I'm just all about doing the right thing, blah blah blah. So, coming from that, we're looking to, you know, the topic was swim baits and throwing them on beds. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I feel like they could swipe at that. There's a lot of outside of the mouth hookage, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if that's like a legit. I know that's a thing that's happening a lot now. Dudes are throwing mag drafts and shit on bed, and fish feel some type of way about that stuff. And I don't know how I feel about like a dude in a regular tournament throwing a big glide or a swim bait and busting one outside the face. Like, well, that's not legal.
Right.
It's not legal to me.
I don't disagree.
And so I'm talking about integrity. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
For me,
you know, so myself, I'm throwing smaller compact baits, and I want that fish to eat the bait before I set.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Especially tournament situation. It's pretty crucial. And I would say I'm on a similar plane in how I approach it. But I guess when that fish does not eat your Texas rig, right? And let's say it doesn't eat your Texas rig, but stays home.
Stays locked on the bed,
but doesn't show interest, right? You
Got
know
it.
what I'm talking about.
100%.
And then there's that flare.
I got
The
it. I got an
flare,
answer
when
for
they
you.
flare, you throw the Texas rig back and
Yep.
catch it,
Yep.
right? When they're not showing no interest in that Texas rig, what are you doing?
Got the answer for you 100%. And this is every single freaking time. Kyle Schutta's motor's in the freaking ground. He's out, dude. He's gone.
You leave.
Oh, I'm out.
Really?
I'm gone.
Wow, I was not expecting
I'm
that.
gone, dude. I am freaking gone. I've had many, many big bass sitting there locked. Fuckers don't eat, man. I'm out. Bye.
That's good advice, dude.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out.
I
I'm
gotta
out
be honest with
fast.
you. I was expecting like I do the shoot a shuffle.
Nope.
You don't even try something else?
I mean, I do for, 3, 4, 5 minutes, but how
Yep.
long can you cast at a bass that's just sitting there?
That's what, like, where my head's at is like where I feel like that's when you would pull out and maybe it wouldn't even be a mag draft like with the treble below, but that mag draft freestyle or something, right? Something big that
I've never jacked with that yet. I have no experience on that.
I don't know, but I've seen like with James Chapman, this is a little nugget, but I'm not going to say the color, which seemed to fucking matter for some reason. The Dark Sleeper from
Okay.
Megabass,
Yeah.
right? The hookup ratio is not my favorite with that lure.
Because the hook hides in the fin.
Correct. And it just for whatever reason the hookup is sus with it. However, the throw it 2 casts to get them to eat your normal shit again aspect of it, I like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he
So-
swimming it by or letting it go to the bottom and hopping it?
It's hopping it in the bed and bam, bam,
Okay.
bam,
Pissing
bumping
him
it
off.
in the bed.
Pissing
Yep,
him off.
and then it looks like a fucking real minnow. And I'm not that good, but he showed me that, and I mean, I don't think he listens enough to be pissed at me at this point. But I don't give a shit because it was like I threw 2 other colors and it didn't matter. So
No shit.
yep, but like it was, and Dane and I used that on like I helped find our beds on leech, but it's just using that. You are just a bed fishing wizard, dude. Like I have to fuck with the 5 good beds I find. What's kind of the key to your bed fishing environment? This environment you're talking about for largemouth to me is a little more elusive than smallmouth. Smallmouth to me, bed fishing is predictable. It seems to last a lot longer, so I have more time to find the predictability of it. The largemouth stuff, pre-spawn, post-spawn, I feel like I'm pretty dialed in. The bedding stuff's a little nut sometimes. To me, it's a challenge. I have respect for you, Kyle.
Yeah. You're talking up north here?
Yeah. Shallow flats.
Doesn't sound like a big tip, but it's a huge tip. Just time on the trolley. Just ripping the bank.
Yeah.
I just love that. Myself, so I'm in my happiest element when I have my sunglasses on. I'm like, ooh, look at that one. Look at that thing. What's he doing? Oh, he's going over there. Like, I just love that. That's what I love doing. That's my favorite thing ever to do.
So do you feel like you just rip more time on the trolling motor, having your eyes on more target-rich environments and literal bass than other anglers?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, you asked the thing where you're like, oh, shallow flats, isn't that? So, totally depends on the lake. Totally depends on the lake. When it just is bassy, then it's bassy. Some places it's bays. Some places it's channels. Some places it's main lake, flats. Sometimes it's behind docks. I mean, there's no given science that's perfect. It's just that's bassy for what I figured out at this lake.
Every lake's a little different.
Totally. 100%
Let's
different,
take a clean body of water versus a dirty body of water.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously probably some correlations with the dirty water lakes and some correlations with the clean water lakes. What are the differences you've noticed?
Well, the color of the water doesn't matter a ton. Really, it depends on how the lake is. Like, okay, you could take a lake like Tonka. Well, Tonka has a bunch of little mini bays. Yeah. Of course they're going to spawn in there. And Tonka has clean and dirty water, but they do the similar things.
Right.
So it's all about how the lake lays out. Like let's take a lake, for example, that had no backwater, no bays, no nothing. Well, them fish have to spawn somewhere.
Yep.
Clean or dirty, they're going to have to get around weeds, logs, a dock, whatever it is to lay their eggs and spawn.
Yep.
So it's about the lake. It's totally about the lake.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the spawn's going to play a factor this year in the Champions Tour?
You're talking upcoming Champs Tour schedule?
Yeah. I guess I'm wondering, I feel like last year, I don't know how you felt about the schedule last year, but how did you feel last year compared to this year?
Well, I like the schedule a lot better this year.
Really?
Oh, shit, it looks dumb. I mean, we're going to Vermilion in, the first week of June?
Yep.
There will be no bass on beds, so everybody should stay at least 20-plus feet deep.
That's
for sure.
what I was thinking.
Whole thing. I think everybody needs to practice out deep, stay out deep, never go to the bank.
They spawn really early out there. They're usually done by the second week in May.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, too. Yep, for sure.
Yep.
All right, let's cut the podcast. We're done.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
No.
I figured you were excited for that lake.
Too.
You won a Champions Tour.
The first tournament I ever won with the Champs Tour was the first tournament I ever fished. So I won the first one I fished. It was on Vermilion. And then we went back a couple years later and I took third.
What size finesse jig do you like? One size. First one you pick up. 3/8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. 3/8 for sure. 100%. The one I won with? 3/8.
I figured. Okay.
Yep.
I figured you just said that. I wasn't going to ask it directly.
Yeah.
Just trying to be sneaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, dude, I mean, Vermilion, first week of June, there should be pre, post, and spawn fish. It should be stupid. There's going to be a billion bass caught. In all honesty, that's the tournament I'm the most excited for since the Champions Tour started.
I've been just trying to hold my excitement back and just try not to get too excited for any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard not to get fucking jazzed up for Vermilion. It's broke my heart.
It's the coolest freaking lake on the planet.
Yeah, dude. And I've hacked the lake, and I just need open the mind, and
you just need a couple things to go your way, and you're in.
I've made the mistake. I feel like for me, Vermilion, I've made the mistakes I've needed to make, and I feel like it's.
What are you talking about there?
Well, it's a matter of getting on a really good pattern with wind, and then it not being windy, and not having the confidence where your whole practice was a cold front, and then it's warm tournament day, right? So made that. Yep. Made the mistake of just being there for the first time, understanding where they spawn and how they spawn. Now I know where and how they spawn.
Well, good. We'll have to talk after pod, because I've never been there when a bass is spawning in my life.
You don't need a fucking thing from me. And
they got to spawn all over the whole entire fucking lake, dude.
You will fucking find it just fine.
I feel like I will, too. I feel like everybody's going to find it.
It's not rocket science, so I don't need to say dick.
No, it's
but
not
I
at
would
all.
rather catch them off the bed.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious. What's interesting about Minnesota is, like, down south in Florida, you have so many waves of spawns throughout the season, right?
Right.
Like, they're spawning all winter at various times, like from January to April, and then sometimes in November and December, or to May. I mean, who knows? But up here, we are sitting in a house floating on water.
Yeah.
Like, we're on the lake right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're on water.
Yes, we are.
Yes, and there's this frozen sheath keeping us from having to swim. So,
where your trucks are parked.
what that also does is make that spawning window predictable yet variable, because you don't know when this brick that we're fucking floating on is gonna melt.
Mm-hmm.
So you have years where it freaking melts really early, and
Yep.
it's like that spawn happens a lot sooner, and then you have years where it doesn't. But we're talking about smallmouth, so it always happens.
It's gonna
with
happen.
those. So it's gonna play.
So I've never been to like I said, nowhere even freaking north of Hinckley bed fishing, realistically. So I don't know what they do there up in the first week of June. I'm sure they're going to be on bed unless the year is very bizarre. So one thing I've kind of found through my years of bass fishing, doesn't necessarily matter when the ice goes off. It matters how the weather is leading up to the tournament.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You are correct. I think that there's going to be some bass getting teabagged at that event.
Yeah, like billions of them.
Balls in the face.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't freaking wait.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a bass on a bed on Lake Vermilion, but I am ready to see one of those.
Honestly, it's probably more scary when it's new for you, because you're used to, that's kind of your jam, is breaking. Like, Schutta's ideal water to break down is bass are spawning, cut me loose.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
100%.
mean? Like, so I'll be honest, if I wasn't, I'd be lying if I wasn't. Like, yeah, you're poised for that one, Mr. Schutta. So
Too
I
much
ain't
pressure,
giving
though.
you a
I'll probably
fucking inch.
screw up. It'll probably be my worst
I'd like this
tournament
pressure
ever.
to keep mounting, to be honest, and I'm wondering how we could keep building upon that pressure.
Just talking about bass on beds. That's how we can mount it.
Yep, bass on beds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
They're stingier on Vermilion. That's what I will tell you.
shut up.
I think so.
Really?
The first time I went to Vermilion, I was appalled at how stingy they were compared to this brick we're sitting on right
Really?
now. Mm-hmm.
That's bizarre to me.
It was like
Sad news.
it's almost like they just see less humans in general.
So they
it's
get
like,
weirded out by it.
and they seem to be more particular about things. So I'm actually really curious to talk to you after that tournament
I'll figure
to
it
see like your thoughts on that, if it's anything similar to mine, because I'm like, I feel like if you find a target rich enough environment, it'd be fine, but definitely not something I'd want to go blind into again.
No.
Because that was the first time I fished Vermilion, was a tournament that was kind of blind bed fishing, and it was kind of like everything I usually did was kind of like,
Huh.
And I don't know if we were fishing in an area that was common and those fish were fucked with, or, you know, I
Can
don't know
you
any
see
of
them
that.
all through the lake, though? Like, I mean, they're on bed. You're like, oh, there they are. Like, I didn't know, because Vermilion kind of has that tannic look to it, too.
It does. So I'm curious what all beds that you can't see, but I would assume the lake's big enough where they're spawning throughout June, main lake, right? So to me,
Totally.
it's a big lake that's set up where the early spawners are more backwater-esque, like more largemouthy type smallmouth stuff, right? That's what the early spawners are doing, that water that warms up first, right? Mm-hmm. And then like that main lake that's got them big basins and stuff, that takes a lot longer to warm up, especially that far north.
Yeah, no
so
shit.
Those, like, you've probably got, I would assume, 4 waves of spawners from your early warm water packers. You know what I'm talking about. Like, warm water, let's bang.
A second that it warmed up a little, they're on.
Yep, like, I eat smelt and I'm like a main laker and it's still too cold. Yep, yeah. Nope, no sex for you.
Yeah.
Like, not till 67.5 degrees.
Or 70.
Or whatever. So I'll be curious, but I forget what's after Vermilion. Oh, then the river.
Is the river the last or a middle?
Middle, I think.
Oh, it's middle, you're right.
And Lahamadou's last.
You're right. Yeah. River, not a river guy at all. Don't really know the river all that much. But when I fished the MILF tour, last tournament was on lacrosse. Yeah, lacrosse. So I've been there one time ever in my life.
Like it?
I mean, it's cool. Yeah, it's a freaking massive body of water. You've probably got a shit ton of experience down there, don't you?
Mm-mm.
You don't?
Nope.
So you're north of there mostly.
That trust issue I have with the frog originated there. I fished tournament down there. NABC's back in the day with Mark Shirley. Johnston Westmoreland and his partner won that one on probably a different color frog, if I remember talking to him since then. In a
two more flecks of green or something like that in there.
More orange and like something more shock color actually. And you know, I like a black fucking frog.
Me too.
And that's their eating in practice, and they just lost them and fucking just did not. And then you'd flip them areas and it didn't happen. But I really liked it when I spent time down there. I had a little bit of caught some nice smallmouth on a main river channel angle cast thing, and just didn't. I was young. I was like 16 years old. First time I could drive my little fucking shitty Stratus that I saved up for with the little Bravada. And
probably learned a shit ton though.
Oh, it's so many things. So, them tuition days, if you will.
Yeah,
I spent some time in lacrosse. Haven't been there since. But besides 7, Dane and I had second in a river tournament where we could lock down to 7, which we can't lock up to 7 for this one. So,
is it just pool 8 only?
I think maybe pool 8 and 9, but for sure 8, not 7, maybe 9.
I would never lock in a champs tour ever.
Dude, I know, right?
No. Even if they said that you can go to any pool, I'd be like, I'm good.
Well, that tournament where it was 4 and 5, I had to practice 5 because I didn't know if they were going to split it 4 and 5. Like with the lake split, you have to almost lock. If they make it open, you don't know if they're going to split it at that lock. So
I know.
If we're talking pool to pool, and they split it pool 8 to pool 9, you're locking.
Yeah. So I did the same kind of like you. I did like 4 hours of practice down in 5. I was like, well, at least I'll know how to like run the channel if I come down here, but I'm not doing that.
I kind of spent more time than I should in 5 just thinking maybe I thought they were going to split it 4 and 5, being that they made.
So you thought they would do that, maybe?
I thought it made sense to, if you're going to make that open, because it made no sense to lock to me. Like, why would you lock? In my mind, if they were going to make that open, to me, it was because they were planning to make it open.
Well,
and if you didn't, you'd have to be stupid or ballsy as fuck to lock, and it'd be still a play, but not like we're talking about at the poker hand, a 2-7 draw.
Yeah.
Unsuited.
Well, if you know anything about the champ tour, they're always doing weird ass shit, man. They always want to keep you guessing and thinking, which
not to a fault though. Like they don't like fuck you with it too bad. Like they still give you enough.
No. So that's what I was trying to say. This is where I love it, right? Like my thing is I know when I talk to Dane, I'm probably just crying on his shoulder more. I'm like, we fucking get rid of these lake split. We don't need that. And I'm like thinking like,
but look,
yeah, and I don't like it either. But like to a fault, it probably benefits me like crazy. Because I'm just all about the whole entire lake. I'm going all over the freaking place. I'm trying to find as many places as I can. And that completely benefits me. For surely
you are faster than everybody. I
don't know about everybody, but I'm just...
I don't know anybody who moves at a faster pace than Kyle Schutta in terms of, like, I get stuck on something, right? Mm-hmm. You are always moving.
Yeah.
Like,
sometimes bites me in the ass.
Well, like vice versa,
sometimes it bites me in the ass.
But I would say, based on the numbers, not so much in Champions Tour.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about
especially
your
for
advantage,
consistency, but yeah.
You exactly, dude. Because you're able to sample more water than other anglers, and just read it, and you're not necessarily looking for. I'm not looking to bang up this whole school in practice. You're just sampling more water. You're fishing more water. You're fishing faster. It bodes well for that format. And I think the lake split to boot, because it forces people to practice more of the lake, you can do it quicker. You can do it, like, you are faster at it. It's just, or you might not learn as much as intimately, but you're going to know. You read water fast, dude. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. I know one thing I told Dane, I was like, dude, you know what you need to do for, like, the next year? I was like, you need to have, like, one tournament's going to be a lake split. And you need to announce it beforehand. There'll be only one lake split this year.
I love that idea.
And you don't know when or what it's going to be. Or maybe you don't even announce one. You just say, we may or may not lake split it. And so you don't really have an idea. So it forces you, because the one thing that the Champs Tour has done that I think is titties is that it makes you fish the whole frickin' lake.
Right.
And I like that, right?
Yeah.
You should be doing that. Like, if you have one little block area that's insane, yeah, that's great. And you could win off that, but we want you to think outside the box, right?
Yep.
I'd like that. I'm so about that. And there's a lot of strategic shit that comes into play right there.
I think it'd be. Remember how a Bassmaster used to do, like, the golf holes?
Oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. You like this shit, Tom.
I have no.
I would never do that.
I hate lake splits. I hate whatever. But, like,
they would have, like,
I would want to play a round. Is all I'm saying. Like, I would want to play one round.
Just the tip, just to see how it feels.
Yeah.
Just to see what it's about.
I just would want to play one round.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm like, after fishing Champions Tour, I'm like, fuck lake splits. No way.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm done with them. I understand. I get what you're doing.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, but
I don't get it. But I get it.
you make me burn a lot of gas.
Oh, fuck.
Like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On River last year, I had a bunch of shit south of the Kinney, like baller shit, dude. And I'm like,
on the St. Croix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
I
just
did too.
Baller shit down there, and I never went south. I was like,
that's what I did.
Oh, fuck, dude.
I felt the same way, dude.
Oh, I had some shit down there, dude.
So I was in.
And I was boat one. I drew boat one, dude. I could have started, and everyone's like, ah. It was the one tournament in my life. Everyone's like, whoever gets boat one. Oh. Might be getting something here.
Feed them.
It's probably a 6-inch.
That's all right.
We'll take anything we can get right now.
Damn right. Yeah, we'll take fucking 2 inches. I don't care. Give me that little one. We ain't caught nothing.
He's coming back up. Oh, he's kind of trying to do something anyway.
I feel like I want to jig one up on a blade bait. Where are them rods? You got rods? Give me a rod. I'm going to tie something on.
Give him a little one. Oh, hold on. Let me get that one then.
Dun 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 dun. So that's the abundance down there?
Yeah, dude.
Do they fucking fuck with you like that?
Oh, yeah. Jack with you. Try to put a little bit of minnow on there not to get messed with.
Do you think they grab... Do you think, like, them little bitch perch, do you think they go head or tail for? Do they fucking like suck the tail or
what do they do? I don't have a clue. I think it was a small walleye. They mess with it like that.
Well, they got like little bitch teeth. Like I would assume I'd bite them on the head. But,
yeah, or any way you can get.
Right? I'm just wondering why, like, walleyes are such little...
Dude, they're bitches. You want to hear a funny walleye story on a bed?
Yeah.
Dude, me and Chris are on Tonka one time fishing for a 4.5 pounder on a bed, looking at it, hanging out. This thing's being kind of a cuck. Can't catch a thing. It's kind of moving around. All of a sudden, this freaking 8-pound walleye comes on the bed. He's eating the eggs. I'm like, what the fuck? Chris throws on it, jacks the 8-pound walleye, catches it, throws it off the side. We look over there at the 4.5 pounders on the bed, throws in, boom, catches it. Yeah, dude, walleyes run bass.
I've caught some big walleyes bass fishing, and I've learned, like, glide baits, scoping. Like, before I learned how to scope bass, when I was trying to scope bass, I learned that I'm good at scoping fucking walleyes with a big glide bait.
And they eat a glide? I suppose they love that.
Dude, you go over, like, a lake, and you get over, like, you got a sand point, and then you get, like, the basin next to it. You pan that scope over, and you see one, like, 10 feet off the bottom, and it's a big fucker. And you throw that Spro Chad like
no way.
15 feet over it, and you just like wait for it to sink down, and you get it like 5 feet above that thing, and you start like quarter turning it,
and it's just
and that
like,
thing just rockets
no
up to
way.
it. Yeah, like 29 inches. Like
No.
I made this happen a couple times. Yep. And then blade baits catch the fuck out of walleyes when it's
I believe
cold.
that. I've heard about that before.
Yeah. Hey, I want to tie this on. I want to catch a 6-inch walleye on this. I feel like I could catch a 6-inch walleye on this. They have so much food they have to react.
There you go.
I have no idea. What were we talking about before that? We were on something good.
Yeah, we were on something awesome.
What were we on? We were on something good.
Tour schedule.
Oh, yeah. Lahamadou.
Oh, yeah.
You like Lahamadou?
So
don't? Lahamadou?
Lahama don't care.
Lahama don't give a fuck.
My thing is that the last tournament and the only tournament I've ever fished in my entire life on Lahama doesn't was in a Minnesota Pro-Am, and I was fishing as a junior am, 16 years old. I think we took like second or fourth or something. I drew somebody that did really good. They had it dialed up. The only tournament I've ever fished in my life on Lahama don't.
So that was like, so for me it was Silverados.
Yeah, well, maybe the same thing, whatever it was.
Same thing, but I fished as an am.
Minnesota Pro-Am, yeah.
First one I got paired with Lonnie Murphy. Fish docks, we got like 22nd place.
Okay.
Second one, that was like August, Silverado. Second one, I got paired with John Wick III.
Oh, I know who that is.
Old Ranger guy.
Oof.
We threw wacky Senkos with 1/8-ounce jig heads on, you know, them post-spawn stagers, kind of right outside them spawning grounds on that first little coontail and cabbage that came up.
You guys clap cheeks?
We got like a check. A check.
Yep.
But that was back in the little bass Lahamadou days. Like, bass are...
Dude, they're kind of they're
small,
magged up on Lahama don't.
Bro, it's 20 pounds to win on Lahamadou now. It used to be 16.
Yeah.
Like...
Isn't that so? I mean, you were touching on this earlier. Lahamadou it can kind of be like a mad school and lake, right? Like spot lock down and bust.
It is, yeah. It's the problem is like
that's gonna be what wins, I think.
Lahamadou, I would say, is like Gull, where there's a lot of community holes. You know what I mean? A lot of community holes, but what's different about Lahamadou is Lahamadou fishes a little different than Carlos, which fishes a little different than Darling, and then you got them little fucking
flyer
little
lakes.
side shoot lakes, you know.
Yeah.
So Lahamadou, that's kind of what's fun about that, and that's another lake I'm excited about because I feel like I've made the mistakes I need to make on Lahamadou. I had a good practice in a 5-fish derby and had a horrible finish, and had a good practice for the Champs Tour Derby and had a bad finish, and I feel like I made them like, you know how that is.
Well,
you almost need those.
So, I think the year I took off 2 years ago, you guys went to Lahama doesn't.
Yes, your year off.
Tell me about that. What happened in that tournament? What was the ticket with it?
Walker Krampus won.
Okay.
Timmy Schroeder took second, and they were going blow for blow on Main Lake Lahamadou on community holes, kind of in
well-known areas or something like that.
Yep, and then factored in some other lakes as well. But yeah.
What was the lake split? How did they lake split that joint?
They lake splitted that. Basically the Lahamadou Carlos Bridge.
Okay.
And then they made the last hour.
Oh, pleasure free zone.
Yep, where you could go, I think, anywhere.
That play?
Walker went back to Lahamadou after he wouldn't have been able to. Yeah. And I feel like it helped, but Timmy did the same thing, Peters did the same thing, and they were all, and I cashed a check, but I just, that's a prime example of there's a lot of fish around and you could fish right past them lake because, just the way it is. So Lahamadou in August, the thing about Lahamadou is that's how that one played out, but it could be one on docks next day. Like exactly. Lahamadou's I would say a western Tonka lake kind of lake where you have a lot of diversity. Like the way you're catching them on Lahamadou might be similar, but it's not the same as Carlos because they're not laid out the same. And Darling, where you catch them on, and that's why I don't know if you remember like your Corey Putnams of the old days, but he was kind of the Alexandria guy when the Silverados were popping. Who really made hay in the Silverados. He was always in the Angler of the Year race, and then the championship on Tonka would fuck him. But
no, Tonka's never fucked nobody.
Oh, everybody. It's just how much you want it to happen before it doesn't as much. But I feel like you avoid Tonka past the spring. I feel like you are a guy who understands, like, it is a little bit financial for you, or pride. But, financially, tournament fishing costs money. So if you're putting your stakes in, you want to feel good about it. Dude, it seems like you put your stakes in more in the spring, and rightfully so.
Tonka came down to one thing, and I'm being straight with you. Fun. Wasn't fun. You go to Tonka in freaking July and August, it isn't fun. It's not fun. I don't have fun. First of all, I got damn FOMO because I drive by Big Island. I'm like, damn, people look like they're having a great freaking time, and I'm freaking trying to catch a bass. God damn it, dude.
Wakeboard weights.
Oh, shit. I'm like, dang it. I hate that. And then just, dude, Tonka's got them. It's one of the best lakes ever. But the thing is, if you fish them Denny's, you're gonna understand there's like a 10-pack of dudes that are so lethal, and that's the only place they fish. So, Chris and I fished Tonka for a long, long time. We always only came in there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We pre-fished for 3 days. We had the tournament, and then we went home and we didn't show back up for another month. That lake changes so much that, like, dude, if you're not there all the time, them guys are fishing every day. Like, nothing against them. They're freaking hammers. They're studs, like, for sure. But it's like, it's pretty hard to hang with them, except
I agree with you.
In the spring when bass are doing bass things. You know what I'm saying? Like on Tonka, sometimes in the summer, they don't do bass things. They just do weird things sometimes.
Dude, I respect that, and I agree with you 100%, which is why it's really hard for me to want to do that, because I know Rob Starr, I know Joe Panessa, I know Aaron Larson, I know Ryan Otta. Like, these guys, that top 10 group of Denny's guys you're talking about,
they're committed.
They're committed.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Brandt.
Yep.
Fucking all of them. They're committed. And in my mind, I'm just like, what I can't get around, these guys have a special level of insanity.
Yeah, they definitely.
You know what I mean?
They definitely have a level of insanity.
You have 10,000 reasons to catch a 5-pound bass in this state, like
right
everywhere,
right?
4 or 5 pounders, and you decide. And there's 4 or 5 pounders in Tonka, and they'll be the first to fucking tell you. They'll be the first to tell you how good Tonka is. And Rob, I know, Rob would be the first to tell you how much they love the insanity that they insinuate on themselves every year. But can you imagine saying, but it's almost like this quest, right? It's this tournament quest we have, right?
Quest.
They have their own, like, there's this Tonka.
I'm running
it's
this.
Personal.
This is
it's
it.
personal.
Yeah, it
for
is.
That.
It is.
And it's intimate, and it runs deep, and it runs way back in time. I mean, you got your Teddy Capper kind of, and those guys kind of started that whole famed Minnetonka situation, and now look what you've got. You've got some lethal anglers, and they know the only way to be the next Dusty Mon, the next Dusty Mon.
The Dusty Mon.
Right, is to go through the suffering.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
no doubt.
it takes a special level of insanity, and I don't have it.
Dude, I don't have enough time. That's what I don't got. I don't have enough time.
I'm just wondering what it is. Is it I just want to feel something? Is it like, do these guys, is it Alice in Chains fucking like really depressing music?
I think it's this. I think it's Tonka is the one fishery in the Midwest where it's like, that's Tonka.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're on Tonka? Oh, you won on Tonka? That's badass. Like, it's the top tier tournament, like, on paper, you know, in the Midwest.
I think it's the hardest lake to win a tournament on.
For sure, dude.
I think.
For sure. I mean, it's that lake. So then, yeah, when you get deep into that, it's like, well, yeah. Here's the thing. You could fuck around and get lucky, but typically, if you're going to do good on Tonka, you better spend like a shit ton of time out there and really learn it. That's how you're going to be successful out there, in my personal opinion. I could be wrong.
No, you have to be intimate.
Yeah.
And those guys are. Like, I've talked to them guys. Like, they are on another level out there to the point where I'm like, I don't even, like, spring, I'm more intimidated than summer. That's the weird thing for the difference between you and me. But it's a matter of time spent. I've spent a lot more time out there in the summer, and there's so many places they could be in the spring. That's the intimidating part.
They're in all of them.
I know. And it's like, which one has the big ones? And I don't have the time that you've spent out there in the spring, which it takes and requires. And that's where I feel like
if it was a bed tournament in Tonkin and I had 2 days of practice, I could pretty much figure out every big bass in the lake.
I would love to be able to say that I have a season of Tonka that I feel dominant in, and to me, that's something to be proud of, being an outsider to the Denny's guys. Like, having a season on a famed lake like that where you feel like you can outfish people is, to me, cool. But now the smallmouth are...
But also, let me say this. Yeah, I would know where all them bedfish are in 2 days. When they move offshore deep in the summertime, I literally feel like I'm like, there's 75 places where these fish are that I have no idea about.
Dude, I find all them places. I just don't catch them.
I don't.
For me, it's, I need to almost think, like, I find these places and I have offshore spots where I can catch that, you know, 2nd to 7th place bag, and that's
that.
Well, I would fish good with a guy who's like got shallow daggers. Like, I would do really well with that person because I'm comfortable both places, and I'm like a slow, sneaky guy behind a guy like you, like where I know what I'm comfortable. I feel like you and I would do good because I'm comfortable doing what you don't want to do. But I also feel like we wouldn't because you'd move the troll motor too fast. So, you know. But anyway, I forget where we were going. But
no, we were talking about Tonkin, how ridiculously hard it is to take a W in the summertime. I mean, or just any time, honestly, on Tonka, because there's some dudes that know exactly what they're doing out there.
And they don't have it hacked year to year. I literally talked to Rob and Joe, and they would be the first to tell you that they're humble guys out there. They're just my best friends who are good in the Denny's, right? But it changes every year.
For sure.
They're what got them team of the year prior in the Denny's probably hindered their team of the year the following year, and it took them till August to figure it out, and then they went 5th, 2nd, 1st or whatever, you know? Like, so it's, always changing, and the fact that those guys are out there every week.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that night bite, right? The amount of guide boats that fish Lake Minnetonka that like beat up them schools in the summer. All them schooling fish in the summer, you could be a damn good offshore angler and cast over 20 pounds 7 times on Lake Minnetonka.
No
That's
shit.
what's fucked about
Yeah.
it. Is
I believe
how many
that.
4-pounders are down there.
Oh, a ton.
Like, and 3-pounders that you have to have the wind and the right. Like, it's more of a southern fishery that way where, like Chickamauga, you've got, 5 to 10 pounders swimming around everywhere, but how many guys are weighing 30 pounds besides pre-spawn and a couple other magic windows of the year? Not very often, right? Those fish are all swimming around. They ain't biting. Why?
I think the other thing crazy about Tonka is just the fact that, like, how many different things you could do out there to bust them. Like, most lakes, when you go to a place in Minnesota in the summer, you're like, well, I'm probably going to have to be fishing rock or weed. It's going to be one of the two, and it's going to be like that, Out there, it's like, dude, middle of the summer, I've caught giants on deep weed, 26 feet of water, 8-foot rock, a dock, lily pads with a frog. Like, I mean, there's just so many things that can play out there.
And it's like, it's all about what you do when.
Yeah.
And you only have so much time in a day, and the lake feels like you could go from here to here and here to here.
And then the time's out.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about Tonka
No doubt.
is time. You cannot do what you think you could do.
No.
Like what you could do on Gull, easy.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Tonka?
No. You made the loop.
You make that decision, that's a bigger decision than you think it is.
Yeah.
If it's the wrong one.
No doubt.
Like Tonka, it makes you pay for fucking big balls.
Yes, it does.
Oh my god, dude.
But that's also why when you win on Tonka, it's like, dang, you won on Tonka, that's tits.
That's the insanity that like it's a different level though.
Yeah.
Like yeah, those guys are different. Yeah, I don't know which end of the spectrum that it's on, but you guys have a special level of Tonkatism, baby. Tonkatism. That's what we're going to call it from now on, baby. You got the Tonkatisms.
Oh, yeah, that's why you ain't left.
Got them Tonkatisms.
Yep. Yeah, it's a special place, man. I mean, a historic bass freaking place in Minnesota.
Okay. I'm just happy you told me guys are winning tournaments on a blade bait down south, like in November.
It's definitely a thing.
When I'm
Gunnersville.
See, when I qualified for Hartwell, the National Bassmaster deal, the 2 times Dane and I qualified for that deal, all I could think about is December in Hartwell. Nobody's doing the blade bait thing, right? And I was too early. Like, it was a warm fall each time. Yeah. And I never felt like I got to fucking bring my cold water Minnesota skills
to
south. Fucking the south. And I've tried to kind of make it happen. Like,
so you've been to Hartwell? You've been to Hartwell before?
Twice.
Oh my god.
First time we made all the mistakes. Second time we corrected the mistakes from the time before, had a really good practice, and the weather and fucking everything fucked us.
Dude, so this is a great way to segue in the next topic here. I've been just kind of at home sniffing around on the computer as much as I can and looking at like either cherry picking like a MLF Invitational or like doing a Toyota series, and the couple ones that are like piquing the interest is there's one in March on Hartwell. I think it's an Invitational. And then there's one on Smith Lake in Alabama in April, like during the spawn. Like, couple of them was like, oh, damn.
Have you been to either of those places?
I've been to Smith twice, but I've never seen Hartwell.
What do you think of Smith?
It's freaking beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's the most beautiful lake on the planet, maybe other than Vermilion. But,
really?
I mean, it doesn't fit my style, really. I mean, that's a crazy lake, but it's so cool, though. It just keeps pulling you back. Like, dude, how can I not come back to this lake?
So, do you feel like you know how to tack it in the spawn, and you feel like You're like licking your chops?
The first time I was there during the spawn, I
So
watched gigantic bass pull up on beds in the last 4 hours of the tournament. I'm like, oh my God, this is going down. This is really going to happen. And then that night, it rained 6 inches. They canceled the next day of the tournament, and the water came up 2.5 feet.
Fuck.
And anybody who was fishing largemouth got steamrolled.
Yeah, spots.
Yeah, spots.
It was
so
a shit bag.
Jesse Wiggins won it. I mean, he's a local there. Like, and so I didn't get a fair buck at it then. And then the next time I was back was in the falls, like, you know, I don't even know, October or something. Well, that's completely different, you know, like
that's tough time of year.
Tough as shit.
Yeah,
you know?
like
before forward-facing sonar in the salt, and like, oh shit, you know. So yeah, I feel like Smith Lake is the one that's beat my ass a couple times. But then you hear about Hartwell. I mean, they got a big tournament there. And it's mid-March, which is when the Classic was. That could be cool.
I have
some Christie-esque looking shit.
I have every stump marked from when the water was low on Lake Hartwell.
No way.
Almost. Every good-looking one. Like Google Earth Pro. Like 2 national tournaments. First time we were down there, we went spotted bass fishing, played the slot machines, and lost to 3 teams that weighed 23 to 26 pounds of largemouth and made it look like they were fishing a completely different tournament than everybody else. So the second time we went down there, I'm like,
I'm gonna do that. How did they capture? Stumps and shit?
That little shad deal, yep. You know, dirty stained water. That fall transition deal, fish feeding on really small shad, backs of creeks, kind of a, you know, I don't know how exactly went down. There's rumors of 2 to 3 things, whether it was the secondary deal with like a rock crawler wigglewort type deal, or it was the backs of them with really small shad lures, one of those 2. But I just said, we got a second shot to go to Hartwell, and we need to win. Like, we need to spend all our time on largemouth.
Yeah, you're going
you
for
don't
the
get
neck.
Nothing for 10th.
Yeah,
you don't
you
get
go
nothing
for the neck,
9th.
dude. You want to
like,
win.
Yeah, like we need. It's the only shot we got. There's no points. There's no nothing. Why wouldn't you go for the throat? So I did a bunch of Google Earth stuff, you know, and just looking at water. I ingrained the lake in my mind for, you know, 3 months, not programming myself to anything, but understanding how the lake laid out, what creek looked like what, and just trying to program that. And practice comes. Dane figures out a little deal halfway back on some of these dirty water channels, and then
How much of the lake is dirty water, by the way?
1/3.
Oh, okay. Wow, a lot more than I thought it was then.
Yep, the Tugaloo, you've got 3 kind of main veins, right? You've got the Tugaloo, the Savannah, and then the main other vein. The Tugaloo and the Savannah have some dirty. Tugaloo mostly dirty. But first day of practice, I go to the back of this creek. I catch a fucking 7-pounder on a mop jig. Cut my hook off. Dane catches a bunch of like 2.5 to 3.5s in between where I caught him on a mop jig. And what's crazy is that Google Earth shit I did, I found like the sunken bridge and some shit. So I got there like evening before off limits, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go see. It looked like a landing, so I'm like, I'm gonna go see if I can put my boat in here. I drive down, I'm like, fuck no, I can't put my boat in here. A Skeeter's pulling through this channel, throws at this sunken bridge 5 times, catches 5 bass.
And you just watch this?
And I just watch this from shore, and I'm like, okay.
You're like, okay.
And then he turned his boat around. He didn't even go to the back of the creek where I had a bunch of shit marked that I thought, like them little shad, and that deal goes down, right? But he went and got the half shit. So anyway, Dane and I figure this deal out. We go check that creek. I shake off a fucking Magnum. There's a green light dock with 3 brush piles next to it and a dirty water flat ass creek with a fucking sunken bridge on the outside and then a bunch of nice offshore shit outside of that. I shake a good one off. Dane catches a 3 3/4 off the bridge. We get like a system going, and then I get a spinnerbait deal going like halfway through. So Dane's got his crankbait. I'm throwing a spinner buggy, banging it into what I can bang it into. And then there's this big fish deal going on in the backs of these things. And but it was inclement weather, rainy, and tournament day. It was post front, fog delay. So there was a clear morning window, right?
Yeah.
There's windows throughout the day, and we figured that out. But the morning window and inclement weather were key. Tournament day, fog delay till 11 a.m.
Oh my gosh, dude. Ruined the
Our
day.
shit is 35 miles.
Ruined the day.
Yep. And next day, fog delay till fucking 11:30.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Did they extend the tournament or no?
Spotted bass win the tournament. Locals.
Of course.
Doing what we were doing the first time we were there.
Yeah.
So it was like, I've been fucked both ways by Hartwell, and it will, I guess what I'll tell you about Hartwell is it is a wild card. And there's a lot of ways to skin the cat out there. And
okay. I like that.
anything can play. And I guess looking back, know the lake well and have a good strategy for both like what you need to do. But Fothergill'd be the guy I'd ask on Hartwell. That's his favorite lake in the world, and he just sticks in the clean water by the dam and fishes for largemouth, not spots. Like he looks for largemouth, and spots is kind of like a safety net.
So that's his favorite lake then. Yeah.
What's crazy about Fothergill is like he won on Leech, but he'd tell you Hartwell's probably his favorite tournament lake. And he's probably the only guy from Minnesota who has dominated like that down south. And it's so weird. But think if you could go back in time and go to plumber school down in Alabama and just immerse yourself. He capitalized on a really good opportunity with being able to spend college immersed in fishing with college that I mean, like funds and resources his skills and talents.
For sure.
Like, let's not forget that either. Let's remember he's got this natural born ability and he's worked that, but that didn't exist really when we were around, man. Well, maybe it did, but we just didn't.
Not surely not when I was there. None of that existed.
To me, the way for a Minnesota guy to make that happen, I mean, he's shown us that that's the way to do it.
Yeah, hands down.
You have to kind of forget everything up here and put yourself in a really tough situation.
Well, I think that's what's hurt me though nationally. Like,
really?
I mean, earlier you're like, oh, you did good in the South. Like, dude, don't underestimate. I got killed down south a lot of friggin' times, man. Sure. I mean, I've been there and done that and took my licks down there, and not that I had some crazy good career down there because I didn't. That's not the case. But I mean, I'm just saying, a lot of shitty tournaments down there too. And so when you come down there, especially, let me say this too, before forward-facing sonar, and you're trying to guess what is happening in 87 feet of water over the top of trees when you're from Minnesota, shit's weird, right? Like,
dude, it's a different world.
It's a different world, So.
I don't think you can describe it how different like a lake like Hartwell or Smith is if you spent all your time in Minnesota, fished every diverse, even from this diverse to this diverse. Fishing on Hartwell or Smith is still like fishing in a different country, comparatively speaking.
Oh my God.
And it's intimidating.
Just driving around, you're like,
dude, it's huge.
Dude, you're here to your truck, and it's like 80 feet of water in Smith. Like half the lake.
Dude, there's not a lot of shallow water in Smith, but
there's
like
barely any.
Those reservoirs are intimidating. I think that's probably the hardest thing for a northern guy is just the water we fish looks so much different.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is too, like, okay, we're talking about Smith around the deal. If you put it in Coleman, which is on one side, and you start ripping towards the other side of the lake, your boat would be out of gas like 3/4 of the way through the lake.
Adds a little different level of strategy to things.
And then the lake is skinny,
right?
But I mean, and everything just looks the same. So where do you stop?
You would think a lake like that gets more windy. Like, that was what surprised me about Hartwell.
Wind don't matter there.
No,
it doesn't matter. It can gas. It has no effect on the lake, pretty much.
There's enough creeks and, like,
it's
it
skinny.
Totally takes it out.
It's so skinny.
Kentucky Lake, I feel like different story, right?
That's the craziest I've ever seen win in my life.
I was going to ask.
The craziest I've ever seen. The one time I was out there, it started gas packing so freaking hard against the current, and them things were rolling up. I was like, oh my God. Like, just went towards, would it be South Paris? I'm like, went in and then hooked her right into Blood Creek and went in that thing and called my wife and was like, go get my fucking truck up there and drive it down to this creek, because there ain't no goddamn way I'm going into this shit.
I fished Blood Creek.
Yeah. Dude, there was like 7-footers out there, like legit 7-footers. I was like, oh my God, like rolling over the top.
Think about a lake that's 2 states long.
Exactly.
With nothing to block.
And it goes north and south perfectly. So if it gasses like that, dude, you're over.
Please be a West. Please be a West. Please be a West.
What other stuff are you doing next year besides Champs Tour that you're pumped up on? Come on, give me something.
That's it.
No, you're keeping it easy?
I have to, man. At the end, like, have you seen what a dozen eggs costs?
No.
No, shit's expensive. Taxes are theft. And, no, I just, I'm resetting financially. I haven't done good enough tournament-wise to keep my foot on the gas with multiple trails. So I'm taking a step back, fishing one less tour. I'll probably still fish some single events, but I might fish the Bay Open.
Ooh.
So that'd be something I'm excited about.
Yeah. That's badass.
Yeah. But other than that, dude, I'm excited for a lot of things, but mostly just trying to just kind of chill out a little bit with the tournament stuff and have some fun.
That's probably when you're going to kill it. You probably win every tournament this year.
Well,
that's when you're the best, though, when you're not stressed. I feel like that's a huge thing when you're not worried about something.
Like, I was good bogey, and then after, like, I look at my tournament season last season, it's one of two things. It's either my mental state, because my first tournament on cab, we had top 5, and then bogey had a 3rd. And then after that, it seemed like it was just the wheels came off the bus, and I'm like, I look at my personal life, it was not as good financially. I was kind of like not renewing some advertising contracts. Like financially, shit was hitting the fan a little bit, and I'm committed to these tournaments, so now I'm not working like during that time frame because I'm doing this team trail event and then Champs Tour and trying to balance both. And not a place I'd recommend. So, like, tournament fishing is something I think people should make sure if you're doing something that you're able to, not be worried about anything.
I agree 100%.
And it's really hard. And I put myself in that position. And I guess, when you kick yourself in the nuts, you try to put a nut cup on the next time, you know?
I mean, I agree 100%, dude. There's no worse feeling than being like, I gotta fish this tournament. Oh, I wish I wasn't here. Like, that's the worst. And I've always felt like I don't do good, and I'm not positive when I'm thinking like that. When I'm thinking, I haven't fished a tournament in like freaking 3 weeks, dude. Like, let's go, dude. I'm ready. Like, let me at it. Yeah. That's when I'm killing it. You know, like when you're fishing a tournament just because you got to be there.
Well, I want to be fishing the tournament. I'm always hungry, but it's also like the way Team Trail and Champs Tour were scheduled this year. From end of June to like through July, it was like, fuck, I didn't renew that. I need to hustle these ads, but I paid X amount to be in this tournament, and I'm in X in points, and if I don't practice for this, I'm shitting away $1,000. So it
weighs on your head.
Well, it's like if I it was just I need to work, and these tournaments are taking up my time to work. I'd rather be fishing these tournaments. That's all I want to do.
Of course, we would all be rather doing that. But.
So then it's like, man, I have to do good in these tournaments because I'm missing work to fish them. And I guess that was a position I put myself in with the advertising deal that, I'm good at selling shit, but I don't, I don't love shitter ads enough to like die for them, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
So, anyway, that was about as real as I can get about it. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's deep.
and I guess this year I'm rolling right now, and I'm excited. So I guess I feel like when times are good outside of fishing for me, times are good in fishing. When times are bad outside of fishing, times are bad in fishing for me. And other people might work the opposite of that. I think it depends on the person, but
I'd say the majority would roll with you on that one.
you're the same way?
Oh, for sure, dude.
Like plumbing business is going good, fishing business is going good.
Yeah. When heating there is busy and I'm doing that and everything's fulfilled and everything's going good, I'm fishing good. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer, like, when shit's going good at home, no matter what home is to anybody, like, when it's going good there, then it's going good fishing too.
Right.
For sure.
It's a weird sport that way.
It's bizarre because it's all mental.
Yeah, dude.
It's all mental.
It's all right here, man.
And I honestly think fishing is getting more mental, right? Like, now that, you know, we got FFS and all this stuff. I mean, it's like back in the day, it was like, oh, dude, Aaron Teal knows about those 3 freaking crazy spots on here. Freaking, I can never beat him there. Now it's like, yeah, like most people know most spots. They know how to win on most lakes. They know what you should do. And so it's never been more of a mental game.
I don't disagree whatsoever.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I got some work to do there. I think it's what's interesting is just that self-belief that you have all the. I feel like that's what helps the mental side is trusting in all your other abilities helps you remain calm mentally when you're not questioning yourself. And I think it is. That's more just the human being, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, there's people that just have that narcissistic dog in them that just cannot. But then but do those people, when they lose, what happens?
I don't know. That's on them.
I feel like they quit fishing at that point. Like,
yeah, might get triggered.
Shane doesn't fish anymore, and that's that guy who's got that scary fucking winning dog in him that I know. Pat Martin would be another one who doesn't fish as much stuff. So that tells me losing will get to you. But
yeah, but I mean, those guys got a lot of wins. I think it just more comes from a good space in your head, right? Do I need to do this? I don't know.
Yeah, like. At what point do you just want to go fun fishing, Kyle Schutta?
I mean, I don't know.
Like, are you hoping to do more fun fishing this year? You're not fishing the
man.
milfs
I'm made up with the competition, dude. I want to freaking win, dude. When I launch my boat, I want to be able to try to win. That's what I'm looking at. Like, I've pulled on enough fish in my life where I want to be able to think, hey, what I'm finding here today could help me win a tournament. It's not really so much about the money. Like, yeah. When you win a big tournament, that's freaking awesome. Everybody wants to do that. But more than anything, I would think that all the best tournament fishermen in the world are just about that competition, dude. I'm about that freaking competition. I just want to beat you, you know?
Well, it's a matter of, like, there's a lot of good fishermen out there, and it's a matter of there's a few of them that put their skills to the test like that. Is that the smoked Gouda?
Smoked. You want one?
Yeah, the cheese.
And I don't know what this good dude's serving up.
String smoked like mozzarella. I don't even know what this is. If the walleyes aren't the bites, and you munch on the cheese.
Any more beers down there?
I think I'm ready to close it.
Yeah, we can.
You can keep it hot for the walleyes and then cut the walleye in if you want.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do a closing sequence or?
Yeah, I think.
Or lead into it. How long are we going? We're going for.
I'll be honest. I mean, there's a few breaks, but we're on 3 hours and 46 minutes hot mic, so I figure about 3.5.
Yeah.
Which they'll listen the whole time. Like the second half was good. What's weird is like I don't have Milliken type YouTube following, but everybody does listen. The average listen time's the entire episode.
The whole time. Oh, yeah. When they get
Which
knocked
is
in,
weird.
they're going.
Because I don't think I could, like, I have to timestamp these, and fuck, if I didn't have to timestamp it, I'd probably be fucking elsewhere.
I will tell you this. I was laying here, and it felt like I was listening to a podcast. Like,
That's because you were.
Yeah, you were. Hopefully it did.
it felt like I had my earbuds in. I was just like,
Cool.
I think we better do a McGillicuddy to close it off.
Dude, that's such a good idea.
I'm going to get it right
Yeah.
now. All right. We're going to do a McGillicuddy shot. Call for that at some point.
Oh, yes. Is that mint?
Yes.
It's like a Rumplemint McGillicuddy's
Yeah, but it's lighter proof, so we're golden.
mouthwash.
Yep.
Well, I got to be honest, Mr. Schutta. This is the slowest I've ever seen you fish, and it's been an honor.
This is what I do is basically I kind of bulk all my slow bass fishing up in the wintertime so I can build it all up to fish fast during the summer. This is how I do it. This is preparation right here.
It's a slow building pressure that you're excited to release.
Yeah, it's like preparation H.
Well, it's good for you, it's good for your fishing, and it's good for your wife.
Hey, man, I mean, we live in Minnesota. We got to do something, in the wintertime.
Well, we're going to have some mouthwash and cheers this thing.
Let's do it.
This was history in the making, dude.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, in the universe, I bet this is the first bass fishing podcast recorded in a fish house. So
There we go.
I'll let you do the first pull to give me the governor. Quite the governor. I like it.
Ish, that's good. Nice
That
and
is
easy.
good. Yeah, real easy. It's like we're in a fish house. Like, what is there's something to the fish house, like schnapps.
Yeah.
Schnapps in a fish house.
Yeah.
Would you even have, like, without fish houses, would they even sell schnapps? Like,
No.
hardly.
It's a hard close for sure. No, that doesn't exist actually.
I bet-
Schnapps was invented on a fish house, in a fish house. Just kidding, but
So, like, you've got your mint. We're gonna close it out with schnapps talk.
Yeah.
Mint. You've got your butter schnapps.
yes.
You've got your root beer schnapps.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter schnapps.
Yes.
You got your. Is that all the schnapps?
I don't know. Nick, any other schnapps we're missing?
Blackberry schnapps.
I think you got them all.
He's busy eating string cheese.
You go for the breath mint?
Yeah, always.
Okay, for me it's breath mint or butter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, butter is money.
Well, that's how you go ice fishing.
There we go.
Cheers, Kyle Schutta. This is
Cheers.
Teal's Bass Galaxy with the Mr. 2024 himself, Kyle Schutta. Checking in, checking out.